Today, we continue our journey with my number one favorite band, Raunchy. In this video, we're going to go over some songs from Death Pop Romance and Wasteland Discotheque. Hello everybody and welcome back to this awesome video, or at least I hope it's going to be awesome, but looking into the future.
Kind of presumption.
That's up to you.
I predict that it will. Yes, it's up to you and your comments. Feel free to go through and scrub through the comments and see if they're generally positive or generally negative. And if they're generally negative, you know it was a good video. If they're positive, something went wrong.
Haters gonna hate.
Also, I have to say at this point, if you haven't watched our part one, go back and check that out. But if you're not a fan of those albums of Raunchy and you're familiar with the band and you are a fan of these albums, feel free and skip that if you want. We did talk quite a bit at the beginning of that video about who Raunchy was as a band and the silliness of their name and all that kind of stuff. And these guys got their first sort of taste of that band. If this is your first video with us here like this, I'm a huge fan of this band. They are my number one favorite metal band, almost very closely tied with the Japanese metal band called Mook, which is M-U-C-C, which I have many videos of them here on the channel as well, and a couple more coming up soon, hopefully. But I am a big fan of that band, and I am showing these two guys my favorite metal band. Chris, who's down below me here, he is a fan of metal already, and my cousin Cody, who is on this side over here, he is sort of getting into metal a little bit, but he is a self-proclaimed unfan of metal. He's never said that. I put those words in his mouth, but he is not a fan of metal.
He's a hater.
That's right.
I wouldn't necessarily say a hater. I liked the way you said it in our video that is still going to be coming out soon and will be out by the time this is out, called What is Metal? A Conversation Part 1. Go check that out if you want to hear us talk about metal in general for quite a while. I think it's a fantastic video, if I do say so myself, and I really mean that. But in that video, Cody said that metal doesn't necessarily... There's nothing in it that you hate. It's just missing all of the parts of music that you like.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really nice way of putting that. Although, as we have seen, there are some things in this music that you don't necessarily care for as much. The double bass, the super intense, heavy vocals, not something you're a big fan of.
No, but I have started kind of listening for those things. And when you're listening for something, that you can learn to appreciate it and notice the differences between songs.
Yep. And I think one of my favorite parts of us actually doing the first Raunchy video where we went over their first two albums, which is Velvet Noise and Confusion Bay. One of my favorite parts of doing that video was the parts where we sort of just talked about metal in general and then used Raunchy as a bit of an example. And how I think I haven't edited that video yet because I haven't had time because I've been doing lots of hospital stuff. But I think I remember feeling very satisfied at the end of that video that I articulated my thoughts really well. And maybe for the first time on the channel, explained the way I listen to music in a way that kind of made sense with the examples, at least to an extent that I maybe have never been able to do that before. So I was really happy with how that first video went. Regardless of if you guys enjoyed it or not. And I think neither of you really seem to hate it too much or anything like that.
No.
But so in this video, as I said at the beginning, we're going to be going over Death Pop Romance and Wasteland Discotheque. We'll get into that stuff in just one second. First, we're not going to have a super long intro here because we don't need to. And we're going to go over more songs in this video than we did in the previous one. Because from this point on, Raunchy is just basically fantastic, and they're batting 100 from here on out. And so we're going to be listening to absolute monster albums. We're going to be listening to two absolute monster albums, which is why I'm going to be drinking for the first time ever, Monster Energy drink.
That's why you said that line twice.
No, I said it twice because I think I said it wrong the first time.
Oh, okay.
Just ignore
if
the
only
fact
there
that I
was a
did.
sponsorship involved.
Yeah, if only, oh my God, if only we made any money off of this at all. Oh, all the money from this probably goes to Raunchy if I'm able to use the music in it, which hopefully I am. Otherwise, I don't think it's worth doing these videos at all. And I would know that if I had already edited and uploaded the previous one. But again, hospital, cancer, leukemia stuff, whatever. So
Maybe we could get sponsored by Perrier.
Maison Perrier.
Is that alcohol?
No.
Oh, well then feel free to
sparkling
bring on
water.
a sponsor, Perrier.
It's from France.
France? Oh, oui, oui. I just alienated all the French people. But let's see if we can.
Ever here.
There are a couple French bands I really like
Yep.
I know
You
there's
just
a
cover
lot
your
of-
mouth and then just
Mr. Black.
There you go.
Exactly.
I know that there's some guys in Archive who are from France. There's cool French stuff out there, but
So wait, what flavor monster you got?
yeah. So this is energy Viking berry. Sorry, Viking berry. I just saw it in Walmart as I was going through it about an hour and a half ago. I was in the hospital a few hours ago. About 3.5 hours ago, there was a 5.5-inch needle stuck in my spine. They are pulling out some juice and squirting some stuff back in there. And then I had to lay down for an hour, and then I drove as fast as I could home to do this video with you guys. But we had to stop off at Walmart so I could buy a Spotify card because my Spotify had ran out. And I just want to PSA everybody here, okay? If you have your credit card on your Spotify account and you're paying $12 a month, stop doing that shit, okay? This is $30 for 3 months. That equates to $10 per month, which is $2 less than the $12.99 I'm sure most of you are paying right now. So go buy as much of these as you can, or as Walmart would let you buy, which is probably only a few of them, or wherever you're getting them from. It doesn't have to be Walmart. That's where I got it from. Go to whatever gas station or whatever. I don't know.
Spotify will love if you buy the cards at $10 a month too.
I'm sure they'll be happy, but regardless, I like to save my $6 when I bought this instead of the. So anyway, so I had to do that so we could do this video, and we also got some awesome supplies for the Royal Rumble, which is this Saturday. So shout out to everybody. My prediction is CM Punk. It will have been. It will already have happened by the time this video is out, but I'm predicting CM Punk wins the men's. The women's, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. If Jade comes back, she could win it. But I don't think would be right for her to challenge yet. It shouldn't be anybody that's won it before. That's my hope. It better not be Charlotte Flair. No, I'm just trying to do it as fast as possible. So anyway, Viking Berry. There's a cool picture of a Viking on there, and that's awesome because we are not listening to any Viking metal, and I don't know if Denmark is a Viking country. I'm pretty sure it is, right? It's not Vikings like Finnish.
It's Norwegian.
Vikings. Well, but
it's not Norwegian. It's
Danish.
Scandinavian,
right? Which I'm sure that there was, Vikings or some sort of warriors like that. Okay, so this is.
Is that a diet?
It is not diet.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Just in a silver can.
It's just an interesting, lighter can. So this is my first. I assume it's some kind of like a strawberry or raspberry or something.
I hope it tastes like cigarettes.
Why do you say that?
I don't know.
Because you said that, and now that's what I taste, and you're a jerk.
That's the best thing I've gotten out of speaking all day.
Finally, some influence over people.
Right?
That's funnier than it should have been. I don't even know what a cigarette would taste like, but I mean, I've smelled cigarette smoke before, but I imagine it would taste. This is pretty good. I like the berry part of it. I would guess it's probably raspberry-ish. It doesn't taste strawberry to me at all. I suppose maybe a little bit of cherry, but I would guess raspberry, and I really like raspberry as a flavor, so.
Blech.
And I should say for the record as well, I'm not a big fan of Monster energy drinks, but this was there. It was only like $2.30.
Now you'll never get that sponsorship.
Well, you never know.
Yep, there goes the
Send me a whole case for free, and I'll drink them all, and we'll see if they grow to me.
Yep,
Yeah.
Changed my mind.
Okay, so I just also want to say real quick before we get into the music, my transplant is moving forward. I will be happening in probably sometime in the next 8-ish weeks as of the recording of this. And so I've been doing a lot of hospital stuff. I had a lumbar puncture today. I have bone marrow biopsy, lumbar puncture next week. I did an EKG gram or some sort of a thing, EKG thing today. The other day I did a breathing test. I did all these tests and everything. We're talking to social workers. We're talking to case managers. We're talking to all these different people. Hopefully everything will work out. And I'll be able to stay in Omaha at a somewhat nice place that will not be terrible to live in for many days while I'm there close to the hospital, which is one of the requirements. So anyway, moving forward, we'll be doing that. Some of the content on the channel may change. I'm trying to build up a little bit of a library of things that we can release as that happens, but we'll just kind of see. Hopefully we'll be able to do some things. We were talking just before we started this about maybe doing some live content, going live and then just streaming some stuff, whether it's just conversations or whatever. And that might be something that would be easy to do if the internet is strong enough at the hospital or at the either hotel or some of these different places that we might be staying at. So
good luck with that.
I know. I don't have super high expectations, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so last time, did either of you go back and listen to any of the raunchy we listened to refresh yourselves?
No.
No.
I like your wind up for that, Chris. No, because I absolutely would have been shocked if either of you did. So, if you'll remember, the first video we listened to, Velvet Noise and Confusion Bay by Raunchy, both the lead vocals, both harsh vocals, meaning the Cody harsh vocals are screaming vocals, grunting vocals, any sort of a vocal that's not a clean vocal.
Yeah, any pig noises.
Yes, which we didn't hear any of in Raunchy, thankfully, because I hate pig squeals. But which that pig squeal is
That's a big thing.
It's legitimately a style of vocal, a metal vocal.
All right.
Which maybe someday we'll do. I like the idea of collecting little samples of these different things and going through them someday with you. I think that would be really fun.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
And especially because YouTube really allows you to use like less than 1 minute of stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if you're only going to use like 20, 30 seconds, we could do that all day long. So, but anyway, for Raunchy, so heavy vocals, that kind of stuff, all clean vocals are considered. You can still have like yelling, more intense vocals, and I would still consider some of them clean vocals if it has a really defined pitch and it feels like they're trying to sing. Because truth be told, there's not actually a ton of metal vocalists who can scream at different pitches. There are, and most of them can do, like we were talking about before with the barbershop quartet, you can do your highs and your lows, and you can layer them to make this really cool thick sound. But not a lot of vocalists have the ability to like scream and sing at the same time. That's like S tier metal vocalists, and there are quite a few of them out there, so don't get me wrong, everybody. But there are many metal bands.
Who's a good example of that?
My favorite example of that is the guy from Soilwork, Bjorn Strid, but also the guy from In Flames. There's, I would say, the little I've heard of them, the dude from Avenged Sevenfold could definitely do that.
Yeah.
Matt Heafy from Trivium can definitely do that. There's a lot of bands that do it, and maybe I should say it like this. Maybe more vocalists could do it, but there are a lot of metal bands that choose not to do that.
Yeah,
And the singer just screams at his pitch that's comfortable for him, and then it's either high or low, and that's pretty much all that's going on. Maybe there's a little bit more, but and also for certain styles of screaming, you literally can't do them at any different pitch. It's more about the technique you're using rather than the actual pitch that you're like trying to go for. You're actually not shooting for any kind of a pitch. It's just like such a guttural thing or such a screaming shrill thing that there is no pitch really associated to it. It works over anything. So, and there's a lot of metal bands that just do that kind of stuff without any sort of, they're not aiming for a pitch. So that was all done, clean and harsh vocals, on the first two Raunchy albums by a guy named Lars Vongstrup, and he left the band shortly after the release of Confusion Bay. And then they got a new guy to replace him named Casper Thompson. Casper with a K. Sorry, I don't know what this is. Oh, it's you jerk. You sent
me?
Ooh, that's really cool. What's that Metallica thing?
So that is a series of, here's a nice hard pivot. That is a series of foil banners that were originally designed for the side of pinball machines.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
And I just got my hands on that set.
Oh, what? So, like, what
How big are they?
format are they in? Like,
Yeah.
12 by 36.
Whoa. Dude, that is awesome.
And when they get here, I'm going to, I'll show them off on camera.
So are they like
Absolutely.
a vinyl, like a sticker kind of thing that is meant to go on a machine, or?
The art
Or
was
they're just
originally
printed
designed
out.
for the
Okay,
machines,
gotcha.
but they are otherwise just like a hanging,
That's
almost
awesome.
like a banner kind of
And
thing.
it's really cool because that is the And Justice for All on the far right logo. You'll have to send me this image, Chris, and I'll throw it up there, or we'll just tease it right or whatever. I don't know. Then the Ride the Lightning with the in the middle on the left there, and then is the first and other middle one representing
It
something?
says underneath, Unforgiven.
Underneath. Yep. Enter Sandman on the left and Unforgiven on the number 3 spot.
Okay. I'm not zooming in on him. Okay, Enter Sandman, of course, with the Raven and all that stuff, and then the Sandman and the Jar of Sand. I got a jar of dirt.
Is there a song that
printed-
goes like that?
Yeah, it's the famous remix of Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean. I got a jar of dirt, and look what's inside it.
Yeah, there's and they're printed on like a copper foil.
Oh,
so it's
wow.
like a copper foil with like ink printed on top of it.
Oh, sweet.
That is awesome. And the Death Magnetic logo is on the like circular Death Magnetic Metallica logo is on the Unforgiven one, on the doors of the saloon doors.
Oh,
Oh
That
yeah.
symbol. That's really cool. I think that's the from Death Magnetic. Wow, that's
Yeah, I can't wait till
that's
they.
cool.
I don't know when they're. I'm not sure when they're going to show up, but I look forward to it.
That's very cool. We'll definitely show those off. Anyway, definitely worth sending to me. So anyway, Raunchy has a new vocalist from here on out. There's going to basically be 2 vocalists. The main vocalist is the guy who does all the heavy vocals. What did I just call him? The clean vocals and the what? What was
Harsh.
it? The harsh. Sorry, dang, you threw my brainwaves off. All the harsh vocals and a few of the sort of backgroundy singing vocals are going to be done by Casper Thompson, and then the keyboard player who joined the band right after the release of the first, or I think he was maybe did the keyboards for their first album, and then joined the band officially after the release of their first album, Velvet Noise. Named Jeppe Christensen, I think. He
Jeppe.
is the clean vocalist now. So when you're going to be hearing singing, you're going to be hearing him, and when you're hearing harsh vocals, which there's a couple different styles of that, you're going to be hearing Casper Thompson. And then Casper Thompson also does singing more background stuff on this, and then when they perform live, he does a lot of the clean vocals as well. So I've seen just a few clips of them live. After we recorded the last video, I went online and looked up as much like raunchy stuff as I could on their YouTube channel. And they have some really interesting behind the scenes videos of them making some of their albums, which is footage I've never seen. And it's from, 20 years ago at this point we're talking, which is really cool that stuff's up there. They're just little 4 or 5 minute videos of them basically drinking and messing around in the studio. Which is what behind the scenes albums, making of metal albums always are, in case you're curious. Very rarely do they actually show them making the album, just drinking a lot and messing around in the studio.
Drinking and throwing shopping carts off of buildings and stuff.
Definitely, there's always destruction, 100%.
Yeah.
There's always destruction. But,
they like skateboarding videos or something.
Pretty close.
I mean, there's
I didn't know that was like a genre of videos, metal behind the scenes.
metal.
It should be.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. But anyway, so there is some interesting stuff like that, but there's very little actual footage of them performing live. There's a few like people who recorded their shows like 10, 15 years ago. They haven't been a band for around 10 years at this point now. They haven't released an album since 2015. When their most recent album, Vices Virtues Visions, comes out. And if this is your first video with us, the reason we're doing all this is to lead up to the release of their brand new album, which is coming out sometime later this year. I don't know when, but I wanted to film these videos so that if anyone on our Discord or people who follow the channel watch these and get excited, can listen to them before the new album comes out later this year. And I also wanted to film these before I go in for my transplant. So, we'll get some new vocalists here. And also, there is a change in style. You'll definitely notice. This first album we're going to be listening to is Death Pop Romance. And we're just going to listen to 4 songs off of this one. It was very hard for me to pick only 4. And I may give you guys a choice, actually, and kind of explain the difference between 2 of the songs. But this is a really fun album, and this was the first album of theirs that I personally got to experience the hype for before it came out. So I bought Confusion Bay after it had already come out, when I sort of discovered it from being on some soundtracks and things like that. And then I was a big fan of that album, and I liked it enough that when I found out Raunchy was having a new album come out, which back in the day I subscribed to Metal Edge, basically all through high school, the magazine that was a metal magazine. And the thing I liked about them was that they just didn't talk about classic metal. They talked about new metal and new NEW metal. But they actually scoffed at NU metal a lot. They really hated that kind of stuff. But so like we were talking about at the beginning of the last video, there was definitely a lot of metal superiority and stuff going on there, and the dude from the No Clean Singing website and stuff like that. But in Metal Edge, they would always have like, here's all the albums coming out next month, here's all the albums coming out this year that we know of, stuff like this. And that was how I found out about it, because back in the day, you didn't really look stuff up like this on the internet, because that stuff didn't really exist. Now, this album came out in 2004? 2006. Okay, so this is more recent than I thought. So the internet would have been around at this point. But my whole point is that I got to anticipate this album coming out before it came out. And I got to hear the big single when they released the very first song from this, which was track 5 on this album, which is called Remembrance. And when they released that one, I remember being disappointed because it sounded very different. And it's that song in particular, which we are not going to listen to that one. That song in particular is a very heavy song. And I would say this album in particular, both of these albums we're going to listen to songs from today, are quite a bit heavier than I would say almost anything on Confusion Bay or their pretty bad first album, which is tough to tell even how heavy anything is on that album because the production and it was so compressed and whatnot. But so it's going to be a little heavier. So Cody, I think for you that's going to maybe put you off on it a little bit. However, I think the poppier moments of it are more poppy than they were before. So there's a bit more of an extreme in those two elements. Okay. Also, I do think that this vocalist, I'm really curious how you guys are going to feel about both of the vocalists, both the guy who does the harsh vocals and the clean vocals, because Jeppe Christensen, the guy that does the clean vocals, he has kind of a nasally voice, but I feel like his voice is perfect for slicing through metal, which is what we're going to hear it doing a lot. And they use it in really creative ways, and he also really likes to layer his vocals. So we're probably not going to hear a single moment of him just one track. He has vocals that are huge and enormous and lots of layers and harmonies and things like that. And then when you put underneath that, Casper Thompson doing some harsh vocals, along with that, you get these nice big walls of sound vocals that are really nice. And since we're going to a two vocalist format, what they can do is overlap each other a lot. So you're going to hear that a lot. You're going to hear the clean vocals maybe doing more of like a synth pad type thing in the back, while the harsh vocals are the lead vocal of the chorus, maybe doing like little accents and stuff over the top of him singing. And that's pretty common in metal, Cody, if you have a vocalist, whether you have one or two vocalists. But if the vocalists are willing to overdub vocals and do lots of layering, it's pretty common to have clean vocals and harsh vocals underneath doing like a callback type of thing. That happens a lot. Okay. In metal, that's referred to as Beauty and the Beast style vocals. Cool. Usually that is referring to when a metal band has a female vocalist and a male vocalist, and the male vocalist usually does the harsh vocals, the female vocalist does the singing. However, that's not necessarily true. We're going to hear that in this band a lot, and it's both male vocalists. Okay. But the premise still stands that it's harsh and cleans together, sort of fighting each other, or not necessarily fighting each other, working in tandem a lot. Also, one really big thing I wanted to mention at the beginning of the video here is that this is when Raunchy implements one of my all-time favorite things in music. And it's a very broad thing. And if I would have had more time to prepare for this video, I was going to make a little reel of like little 30-second clips of songs from across time that aren't just metal songs. Actually, I was going to do no metal songs at all, that have this particular thing in them, so you could get examples.
This is when they added the saxophone?
Absolutely not. Okay. I promise no one will have to sit here and listen to any saxophone on any of this. I wish there would be a saxophone solo in one of these songs. That would be so hilarious, but it's not going to happen. No, what I'm talking about... So
are you going to keep us in suspense? Or
no.
Or are you going to tell us when
I am going to explain it to you. I'm just getting ahead of myself. So the element of music that I'm talking about here is when you have lead melody for a song that is not in the vocals, right? So most pop songs that you hear on the radio today, right, like Taylor Swift, for example. Taylor Swift songs, think of any Taylor Swift song, right?
Can't do it.
Yeah, I can think of a bunch of them. But very, very rarely in a pop song is there a part of the music that is a focal point that stands out on its own. Usually it's the vocals that are standing out and that are sort of the thing you focus on. Yeah. And when you think of that song and you recall it, you're thinking of the hook of the chorus. You're thinking of the vocals in the chorus. You're not thinking of music so much. So what I'm talking about now is kind of like a refrain would be a way to talk about it if you're talking about it from a musical sense. A refrain can be like a repeating part in the music that comes back. My favorite example of that is the Gorillaz with Feel Good Incorporated, right? The bump, ba-da-da-da-da, feel good, dum, da-da-da-da-dum, feel good. That is a refrain. The chorus of that song is when Noodle sings Windmill, it's Noodle. No, it's actually 2D singing Windmill, Windmill for the land, time forever, hand in hand, right? In the music video when he's sitting with the acoustic guitar, Noodle's sitting with the acoustic guitar, and there's the more singy part of the song. But it always goes back to that bump, da-da-da-da-da, feel good. That's the refrain of the song. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. It is sort of a musical, and in that case, there is a bit of a vocal there, but it is a musical part of the song that is a focal point of the song that comes back around. So it's kind of like almost a musical chorus, if you can think of it that way. And one of my all-time favorite bands that did this all the time and continues to do it to this day in their music is Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode does this all the time. Think of their most famous song of all time. What is it?
Can't do it.
Personal Jesus. Personal Jesus, right? The thing in that song is the bum ba da dun 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 dun, the guitar, right? Dun, 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 dun. It's the same thing in Enjoy the Silence, which is their second biggest song, which is how does that one go? It's the dun 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 dun, whatever the Enjoy the Silence riff thing is. Both of those examples are on guitar. However, earlier on in their career, they have really cool examples like Question of Time and Stripped, and there's a ton of songs. One of my favorite songs, Policy of Truth. Dun 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 da da. This has happened throughout all of music. This is a thing that's always been. However, I feel like in more modern times, the melody has been taken out of the music and been put into the vocals exclusively. And so
I agree with that, yeah.
Right, and there's not... Now, there are some songs, like, I would say, even though there's a chorus over it, but like Billie Eilish's "You Should See Me in a Crown," blah, 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 blah. Like, that like bass, that woofy, dubsteppy bass is such a cool part that to me almost counts as something like this. Like, you're waiting for that part of the song to come back.
You almost sing along with the instrument.
Exactly. Another great example is her other song from that album, the doo 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 doo, what is it? The bad guy. Right, when it does that little melody in the little whoop 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 part.
Yeah.
Right.
That album is so good.
That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
So we are going to get Raunchy doing that all over the place, and I love this.
That's interesting because I don't picture that as an element of metal in general.
So one thing,
So that's good.
So I think one thing that they do that's slightly different from other bands like Metallica, for example. Metallica has like a cool riff, and they'll start the song with this neat riff, and they will then do the verse and the chorus, and then maybe it'll come back to that riff. If you think about the riff from Enter Sandman, everybody knows that riff. How does it go? I'm thinking of two. I'm trying to.
I was waiting.
I'm trying to think of too many things.
Does he know it?
I know. I'm trying to think of too many things in my head. So it's like
Bum, bum,
da 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 da. Right. Which this doing a barbershop quartet like this is not getting the. But
Yeah,
like
the snaps are really bringing it around.
da da da.
The Cyndi Lauper version of Enter Sandman. I'd love to hear it.
Exit light. And tonight, grain of sand.
The Richard Cheese version.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So that would be lounge, not barbershop. But
Oh,
I get where you're going with that. But anyway, that's a good example of a metal band doing this, right? You wait for that riff to come around, and when it comes around, it is a focal point of the song. It exists by itself without vocals being over it. But I don't necessarily want that to just be confused or mixed up with just a cool riff that happens multiple times. So to me, it goes what Raunchy does and what Metallica does in Enter Sandman and Sad But True and other songs that have like signature riffs like that. It isn't just a cool guitar part that happens to happen multiple times. It is like the focal point of the song. It is clearly meant to be this cool melodic thing that you latch onto that is like, it is like the song. And so I feel like there's a little bit more to it than just a cool musical part of the song that repeats a couple times. There's like a lead element to what's happening. So there's like an intentionally purposeful like melody happening in the music that comes back around multiple times. So we're going to get a lot of that. The other thing that Raunchy does is something Chris always mentions as one of his favorite things, and that is when something is diddling around on the side, and then another thing comes in and diddles around on the side, and then everything comes in and does that same thing all at the same time. And it's just huge, massive crushing, right? And
Love it.
you're going to hear a lot of that. And mainly in that case, it is the songs will start with some sort of either like a synth line or maybe a guitar part that's got like more of a clean guitar that has lots of effects on it, that's playing like an octave or 2 octaves high. And then when the whole song comes in and everything kicks in, it's all the guitars as low as they can be tuned, doing that same thing. And it's just like it is the melody being done very heavy, but there's also lots of layering. You're going to hear tons of keyboard layers. You're going to hear tons of layering and things that couldn't necessarily be performed perfectly live without having lots of backing tracks. So that's what we're going to be hearing. And we're going to move into the first song here since we're 30 minutes in already. My God, I'm so sorry, everybody. But this is our channel and this is how it goes. So we are going to be going to, let me back out. I was on Wasteland Discotheque here a little bit ago. So Death Pop Romance. And the first song we're going to be listening to is actually the song that was the single of this album. So I figured we'd start you guys off nice and easy and then ease you into what's probably going to be the heaviest songs we're going to listen to maybe this entire time.
Cool.
So the first one we're going to do is track 3, Phantoms. This was a pretty big song for them, and this was the one song on this album that got a music video. So this is Casper Thompson doing the screaming vocals, the harsh vocals, and then Jeppe Christensen doing the... wait, hold on. I got to double check, because I think Jeppe Christensen might actually be the guitar player, and Lars Christensen is the...
Oh.
It says Lars Christensen.
Nope, Lars Christensen is the guitar. Casper Thompson vocals. Jeppe Christensen vocals, keys, programming. Morten Toft Hansen, my favorite drummer of all time, is the drummer. Jesper Kvist on bass, and then Jesper Tilsted on guitars, keys, and programming.
What a world to have, like...
There's 2 Jespers and a Yepper.
No, there's 2 Jespers.
Jeppe.
They're both Jesper, basically.
Oh,
but I don't know
okay.
if you pronounce it Jesper or Jesper.
Yeah.
I assume it would be Jesper.
Yeah.
But here's a picture of the band from this decade, if you guys can see. Hold on, I gotta...
I was
Here's
going
a
to say, it's
picture of the band.
it must be
from that
wild to
time.
live in a country where you can only have like one of 4 names.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and before this, there were 2 Lars Vongstrup and Lars Christensen. But now we have a good old Casper, which is totally different.
Cool.
So again, the first song to come out from this was released, I believe, in October or thereabouts of 2006. Phantoms is the second single from the album, but the one that was by far the bigger song. And when we hear this, you'll realize clearly this is the song we're going to push out to the people. So, are you guys ready?
Yes.
In 3, 2, 1. Really excited to see what you guys think.
A little bit of Akira Yamaoka hits me right away.
Also, this album was produced by Tu Madsen and mixed by Tu Madsen and produced by Jacob Hansen, who also worked on their 2 previous albums.
And that's Jeppe.
Yes.
Love it. Nice.
Chris, you are going to like this a lot more than I think the previous stuff.
Off to a great start.
Oh, I forgot to give you the lyrics, Cody. You can look those up if you want from that same website.
Will do.
They're on Spotify too with this song. Getting a little bit of this is very Scandinavian sounding.
I love the guitars here, that high part. And there's that tambourine that he's got there off to the right.
You're right. I love the dual vocals here too.
Yeah.
Doing different things.
Now, this guy did backing vocals on the first 2 Raunchy albums. He just wasn't the focal point. Or the second Raunchy album, not the first one. Or maybe he did, I'm not sure. Okay. We're also going to get a lot more defined bridges here.
Quite the shift that was.
A little different. From the rest of the song, I mean.
Yeah, that's a dramatic
Yep.
shift into the bridge there.
There's lots of lead guitars happening here. There's a lot of layers of guitars, way more than 4. Now, do you guys want to roll right into the next song, which is the next song we're going to be listening to? Or do you want to pause and talk about it?
Let's do a pause on this
Okay.
one since it's the first one.
Okay, let's pause. I'm pausing it right there. It does go right into the next song.
Oh, sure.
But it just kind of does what it was doing there, and then it just kind of like right into the next one. So it's not like it's a special transition or anything.
Every song that fades out anywhere in the world should consider just rolling into the next song if they're going to not know how to end it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 1,000,000%. Okay, so what are your guys' first thoughts there? There's a lot new to you there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let Chris go, I guess.
I like the sung vocals a lot. I like the dual vocals a lot. The screaming, they feel it. It sounds like they are just barely able to do it. Like they're like.
I'm so happy you said that. Yep.
Which is something that I caught was happening a little bit in the first couple albums too. But these guys, like whatever their new singing situation is, it's like, yeah, you're all right. Like,
Right.
it seems difficult to replicate. I don't know how it goes for them live. I'm sure it's fine, but
Yeah.
it just is the way that they sound.
Yep. I'm so glad you said that because I've kind of always felt that as well, especially on this album. And it was always my understanding that they wrote the music for this album and then Casper joined them and wrote the lyrics for the songs, along maybe with Yeppy. I mean, again, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. We're all dumb Americans here, so especially me. I'm
not pronouncing anything.
So I always kind of felt like it was him trying to fit into the mold of what they were trying to do, and that after their next album, it feels much more natural to me. But I do understand what you're saying, and that is just kind of his style. It really is.
Wow.
It feels strained, but also it is so much different from any other metal harsh vocalist I've ever heard. Like, I feel like it's easier to understand what he's saying, but that's me coming from having listened to this band for many years, like constantly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I was going to ask you
I agree that it's easier to understand the lyrics than before. And at one point, I wanted to say that I was picking up some 36 Crazy Fists in there,
Okay.
which is such a funny thing because I thought it and I was like, well, maybe I don't. But then I think, well, then how come I thought of that? Like, I haven't listened to 36 Crazy Fists in 15 years.
Right. And they were from, I don't know if it's Denmark, but they're from Europe, I think.
Oh, good. I didn't know that.
So I'm pretty sure that they are, maybe
Cool.
Iceland or something like that. But I will say, okay, so for those of you who weren't with us in the first video, there was a awesome website called nocleanvocals.com that basically, as a joke, assigned this guy a task to review all of the Raunchy albums as like a joke because he just started working there. And so we were going to go through those a little bit, and I'll go through it a little bit more after we've gone through more of the album. But one of the things that he specifically points out in this is that when you read Raunchy's like discography or their Wikipedia page, their bio on their website and stuff like that, it says that they are like a death metal, metalcore, metal. What was the other word they used for it? Metalcore was one of them for sure, and then some kind of other sort of generic metal thing. But the metalcore part specifically, which I know is a genre of music that Chris likes, I feel a lot more than I do, because I don't necessarily care for a lot of the clean vocals. To me, it sounds a little bit whiny, and that's always like that's where it kind of breaks into the like sort of emo, like sort of emo bands, emo style of heavier music that was back, or not less heavy music that was back when we were kind of all in high school. But that's sort of the style that they're leaning more into, like metalcore at this point of their career, and kind of basically further, because they do change a little bit, but this is kind of their style from here until what they're doing now. I assume, I don't know what they're doing now, but so I was curious to see, Chris, if the overall vibe that you were getting from this was more sort of along the lines of something you would enjoy in general, rather than maybe some of their earlier stuff. But
I do think so.
I mean, we've only listened to the one song, and this is a bit of a different song, even for this album.
I do think that honestly, if it wasn't for the screaming vocals being strained in a way, and I guess the timbre of it is still just not quite my favorite, then I would have very little to complain about, honestly.
Right.
The bridge was jamming, and the drums and guitar sounded great.
Let's see. Oh, well, okay. Well, let's just see Cody, what did you think of that, I guess, and then I can go into it a little bit more.
I think I was liking the stuff we had listened to in the previous albums more.
Okay. Yeah.
Those screaming vocals to me, and I don't know enough about metal, but to me they sound like that style of like is that like a 2000s thing? Because I feel like I heard a lot of bands kind of doing that style around that time, but that might have just been because
there is sort of there is a particular style of vocals that I kind of associate with like hardcore music, or like a band that was hugely popular at the time that I think did kind of stuff like this was Hatebreed. Had and they were so massive. They might have had a couple songs that even you came across, Cody, in like a movie or something, maybe.
Yeah,
but
I wish I had like examples to think of, but like I said, it's not my thing.
Right, and yeah, and I don't.
Did that stuff exist like in the 90s?
I would say so.
Okay.
Almost more along the lines of like a punkier side of things.
Yeah.
But also like he's doing it in a very metal way, whereas I feel like you would have heard vocals like that being done over very different sounding music than this.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So
yeah.
this was a little bit different in that. And also I do have to say, like with all the metal that I've ever listened to, I don't know if I can say that I've ever heard another guy who does screaming vocals that does it quite the way this guy does. Like usually you can really compare. Shoot, I'll have to put my phone. I'll have to just put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Usually you can kind of compare metal vocalists to other bands, and in this one, I really do feel like the combination of these two guys in particular makes it unique.
Okay.
Because did you get from Yeppy's voice that it was nasally kind of like Chris when you said very Scandinavian right away when he started singing? Can you identify what element of that made it that way, or?
I think just the tone and the way, like because it also like the clean vocals was very much In Flames to me.
Yeah.
But
which In Flames Cody is a very famous melodic death metal band.
Yeah, and I don't recall anything about it being nasally. I forgot that you had mentioned that, and I didn't pick up on it when it was happening. Okay.
Try to notice it maybe next time. And to me, I don't necessarily say nasally in a bad way. I think that's kind of like usually associated with a bad sort of style of singing. But in this case, because it is what it is, and it's the clean vocals slicing through pretty heavy music, if your voice is a little bit more nasally, it gives it that little bit more of a bite to it. But in this song, like he's really doing the like, it's super cheesy too. He's like, "Oh my pain," it's, through all of my life. I like the way the vocals overlap each other, right? So there's all my pain, and through all my life, my heart is cold, or whatever. It's whatever dumb lyrics they are. But like all three lines of that overlap each other. So that one part starts when the next part is ending. So the notes all work together. You know, I'm not saying it's super complicated. It's probably just the root tones of each thing. But like the way they overlap and stuff, that could never be done like that live with one guy. So,
Right.
So the fact that they're willing to do that proves to me right off the bat that they are doing what I always say, and that you should always leave everything in the studio and never hinder yourself based on what you could do performing it live. But there's so much more we're hearing in these songs that could never be reproduced live because there's many layers. I mentioned the guitars, especially during the bridge. You're hearing, you know, the guitar on the left and the guitar on the right doing their rhythm parts. Then they're probably both doubling or tripling those to make it feel thick. Then they have like simple guitar stuff, maybe some chords and things over the top of it. And then there's like all these like layers of. With this band, I find it's hard to differentiate between keyboard parts and like additional guitar parts, right? Like you can always hear the crunchy guitar, like the guitar riffs that are spread wide on the sides. But anything else that's happening in the middle could be a guitar, could be a keyboard. And as they go further on in their career, they use a lot more keyboards. But what we're going to hear on this album was, I think, them being maybe a little bit hesitant. This is much more of a guitar album than a keyboard album. And I actually like think two of my number 2 favorite guitar riff of all time is on this album, and we're going to hear it later. And
Cool.
And it's all awesome. And in almost every one of these songs, including the guitar riff during that verse there, they're doing the signature raunchy riff to me, which is this very particular style of pattern that they do that is, I can't even explain it. I'm not good enough to do this. I was going to, again, prep for this video and go record a video with Chris Schoenberg where I made him learn some of the riffs to raunchy songs that I think all feel similar to me. And then him and I were going to go over why they sound similar to me. And if it's just the simplest thing of like they are playing the same notes and that's why it sounds the same to me, or if there's this particular rhythmic type of pattern that they use. But I think one of the things that Raunchy does with a lot of their music, and not necessarily this one song, but they use a swing beat in stuff.
Oh,
As opposed to just straight for the floor. So what that means, Cody, if you're unaware, but a swing beat, instead of going 1, 2, 3, well, I guess you would, but instead of going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you will go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So it's that rather than just it's and what that does is it gives it that swing beat. It's a swing music is all made that way. All swing music is, you know, and that's all instead of just straightforward. There aren't a lot of metal bands that do that, and when you do that, sometimes it gives it more of a kind of like a Celtic-y feel to it, because you're kind of hearing lots of type of stuff, which could be very like river dancey, if depending on the instrumentation. You know, if you took all the heaviness away and gave them flutes and stuff, you would be hearing which is literally I just literally sang for you a guitar riff, you know, from Raunchy.
yeah.
So, but with the flute, sure, that would sound like a river dance song. So it just, I don't know, kind of all these different things to keep in mind. Also, I just want to emphasize again, the drums on all these songs are fantastic. I really like the way the drums sound here. There was a lot more reverb and like roominess to the drums on the previous album. Here, and from moving forward, we get the like clean, very dry, short, crisp hits on everything from Morton's kit. And so we're getting like the kick drum, the snare drum, and this is I don't believe any of these sounds we're getting are replaced. I think we are hearing the drums that he has, and that's why the snare drums maybe not necessarily the most crashy, enormous thing. It is a bit more of like a ping that's a lower frequency ping, but it really works nice, and it's not overly top frequency heavy, high-end frequency heavy, to allow the keyboards and especially the cymbals to be sitting on top of everything, just like they were in the previous album. But I do feel like the drums from here on out are going to feel a little bit more close, and they're going to feel a little bit drier. And I personally really like it, especially because he's such a fantastic drummer. And we get that during the verses of Phantoms, where it's the part, right? It's doing the part where the double kick just comes in and the guitars are going for just like a half a bar at the end of the phrase. That kind of stuff is so raunchy and very cool. And he does that kind of stuff in the middle of when he's playing a regular drum pattern. So the next song we're going to go into is The Curse of Bravery, which is the following song on the album. And this is one of the heaviest songs on the album. So we did that to move into this. And this is where you're going to notice that this is much more of a guitar album than a keyboard album or a synth album, because there's a lot of guitar stuff here. But you're going to still hear some really cool synth stuff, especially this really neat sort of like pre-chorus thing that they do in this song. That's one of my favorite moments of the whole album, when the cymbals are doing this. He's got these ride cymbals and he's going on them. You'll notice it right away. It's very awesome. So pay attention to all the stuff we talked about. We'll move forward and see what you guys think. We are going to get to some songs later that have no clean vocals in the chorus. So it's mostly all harsh vocals, but this one is one that does have a clean vocal chorus, but there's some harsh vocals along top of it, which kind of we talked about before. But the song we just heard is the most straightforward, ready to play on metal radio song. Everything else we're going to hear is going to be a little bit heavier than that one, and maybe a little bit different structure stuff.
There.
So, all right, are you ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, we are going into The Curse of Bravery in 3, 2, 1.
Ooh.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. That is the raunchy riff.
Love that ding on the cowbell
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Blast beats.
Layered vocals. Synth strings.
Unearth. Big time.
Ah, interesting.
Mostly in guitar tone, I think.
Yeah, I love their guitar tone.
Now we're getting into something different.
Oh, yeah.
I love all the, on the ride there, the
Yep.
taps.
Half tempo.
Great chorus. This has become an anime intro.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's true.
I can see the credits now.
Yeah.
That synth is right out of Portal 2.
Oh, cool. Do you feel like his vocals are a little more natural sounding here?
Yeah, I think so. Less forced feeling.
I think this song is pitched down lower than the previous one. So I love the string pads in the background, very big. And see, them doing that makes the song feel like it's building, and then when it goes away, the choppiness of the riff really has time to shine there.
Yeah.
Same riff, but the drums have completely changed the way it feels.
Totally.
key change?
Love a key change.
Okay.
Cool.
Ba-da-da-da. Okay, so that song is really interesting structure-wise, but what did you guys feel about that one first? First, I want to hear from Cody first. Did you like that one more than the previous song?
No.
Okay, I would have been
can't-
shocked if you said yes.
I can't get behind these vocals. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine.
It is not,
It takes
not something
work.
I'm into. So I was trying to kind of focus on the instrumentation.
Right.
I did like the synths whenever they were kind of front and center. It was pretty cool sounding, and I liked the drum. Was it a breakdown or whatever?
Yep.
In the towards the end there.
Yep.
That was fun. Chorus vocals, kind of whatever. I don't know. They had some sort of effect on them that I didn't like as much as
Okay.
the previous song. However, they were doing them there.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. And if the next song has no clean vocals at all, I it's gonna
be more of
keep
the
going
same.
downhill for me. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no, we're actually not going to listen to a song without clean vocals at all. So I chose not
okay.
to do that for this one. So for me, one of the things that's interesting about that song, or Chris, do you want to give your opinions on that one? Or
I think I like that one better
Okay.
than the previous one. Really crazy how much they remind me of Unearth.
okay,
And yeah, the vocals were less strained there, and the heaviness is just, it's great. The drums and the guitar together sound so good.
It's interesting you say Unearth because boy, was that a band that kind of was right around the early 2000s, like sort of hardcore metalcore type thing, and they were one of those bands that I specifically remember being like, we're not going to do clean vocals, and then like 2 albums later it was like clean vocal city, baby. So but kind of like what Cody was talking about, like that is the yes of that time period specifically. I've never associated this band with that. I'm not a big, I don't really know that much Unearth, but when you said guitar tone, I was like, okay, from the little bit that I do know of them and that sort of style of bands from like the Trustkill record label, all those bands like that, they definitely, I could see them sounding like that. To me, I've always loved the guitar tone of this band, and I especially think that on their previous album and then this album, the guitars are a little bit more defined. But their next album and then the album we listened to before, Confusion Bay, the tone of the guitars are very similar to a band that is also from Denmark. That's a much older band that has been around for a long time. That is a very influential band to this band and a lot of other bands that I enjoy, called Ill Disposed. They started in like the early 90s, I believe, and they have a guitar tone and guitar riff style that is basically identical to this band. And I do think that some of the members of Raunchy have actually played in Ill Disposed over the years when they needed people to fill in or if a band member left. But they're like sort of like a legendary Danish band. And they're on the same record label. They do lots of things. That was another thing I was going to mention. This album, and I believe it extends to their... Yes. So these 3 albums, the one we're listening to, Wasteland, Discotheque, and then the one we're going to listen to in another video, A Discord Electric, they got signed to a 3-record deal on Life Force Records. And so we're going to hear these 3 albums I consider to be sort of almost like a trilogy. And they're the ones from the band that are sort of the most similar amongst themselves, as a grouping. But even though it was still produced by the same guy, Jacob Hansen also produced their first two albums, and then Tu Madsen worked on those albums with him, I believe, as sort of his understudy. And then Tu Madsen, I believe this was one of the bands and one of the albums that kind of got him to be big in the metal sphere. And then him and Jacob kind of switched back and forth over the course of their career, doing who was doing production and who was doing mixing. Because both the things are very important. But yeah, so that song, thing that's interesting is that my favorite part of that song is when it goes to that, like, cut it wide open for everyone to see. Well, you have the sort of on the side and the flitty synth part. That is my favorite part of the song. So the structure of this song is intro, verse 1, pre-chorus, verse 2, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. So there is no verse after the first chorus.
Oh.
It goes into the bridge that's kind of heavy. And it does sound kind of sonically similar to the verse. And then they just go into the chorus again after that vocal part, where they kind of break it down a little bit and then go back into it. So interesting, unconventional song structure. But I will say to Cody, something that I learned when I got into metal was it is not uncommon, especially at this time. I think bands don't do it as much now, but at this time in the early 2000s to like 2010 or so, it was very common in a metal song to have verse 1 and sort of like a pre-chorus, then go back into the verse again, and then a chorus. And then there might be another verse, like a third verse, or a second half, or a half length second verse, and then the pre-chorus again, and then the chorus, and then a guitar solo, and then a chorus, and it's out. So you're still doing the chorus 3 times, but there's a guitar solo kind of for the bridge, whatever they're doing for the bridge. Which I should also say, Raunchy does not do guitar solos. I think they only have 2 songs on their entire 5-album catalog, or 6-album catalog. Will be 6 that have a guitar solo, and one of them is a guitar solo featuring a guest guitar player from a different band. However, all you have to do is listen to one of their songs to realize that both guitar players are perfectly capable of playing lead guitar, because essentially that's what the riffs are. Every riff that we're hearing is like a lead guitar riff. It's just a very technical rhythmic riff that's not just chugging. Like on the first few albums, especially I'm sure you guys remember the songs from Confusion Bay way more. The guitar we were hearing there was basically just this big chuggy thing that didn't have much definition to it, and it was just like when the guitars were on, they were big and massive, and then maybe there was a few rhythmic things, but you really didn't hear the notes of the guitar, and when you did, it was just them going chug 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 chug. There was no like chug da 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 da. Like there wasn't some sort of like complex lead thing going on. We have now switched, and from now on, Raunchy is going to do the lead parts. They'll mix it up, sure, with the da 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 da. But instead now they're going to mix that with stuff. And cool. So they are really great in that respect. And I've always been frustrated when I showed them to Chris Schoenberg and he didn't appreciate that part of them, because that's all he cares about is guitarists that don't just sit there and chug. And these guitarists don't do that. But because they use clean vocals and keyboards, to him, he automatically hates this band and everything they'll ever do. And he would never sit and appreciate any part of them because they broke the sacred metal code of having some pop elements to them. So the reason I mentioned all harsh vocal songs is because the first song they released for this album was track 5, Remembrance. And that song does have a few sort of background clean vocal parts, but the chorus itself is a harsh vocal. However, we're not going to listen to that song, but I want to explain that song, the chorus is still a very catchy chorus because the music is sort of big and it sounds like it could be singing over it, but it's just him doing his like screaming part. But the part that he's screaming intentionally rhymes in a very catchy way. He repeats a couple of words. They rhyme remember and December and stuff like that in a way that feels very catchy. So like you could sing along with the harsh, like the screamed chorus. And the cool thing that this band does is when they have a song with all harsh vocals, which they have a couple of them on each of their albums, those songs always have very catchy vocal parts, even if they're harshly sung vocal parts. So they go out of their way to make sure that if they're going to do something that has no clean vocals in it, there's still a part that you could sing along with. And I think that that's a really cool special thing that they do.
I think, I agree with that. I can't think of, I don't know. I'll have to hear it and then we'll decide. But thinking of trying to come up with any band off the top of my head that I feel like does that same thing, it's not a long list.
Well, because usually the goal for a heavy metal band or a metal band is to be heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't feel like at any point during any raunchy song, the goal is like to be heavy. I think the fact that it is heavy is just a testament to how great what they're doing is. But I feel the goal is always to have fun. And that's the thing I like the most about them. Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next song. We are going to now do one of two songs. So you guys get to pick.
Oh, boy.
We're either going to do Abandon Your Hope, which is track 2, or we're going to do Live the Myth. So if you look at the songs right away, you'll see one of them is 4:43 and one of them is 5:36. So I imagine right there you'll tick the box of the shorter song. But Abandon Your Hope is track 2, is a great song, and it does have all of the same elements that track 6, Live the Myth, does. However, there's a little bit more diversity to the song in the bridge, which I think you guys would particularly like. And there's one kind of cool thing that they do in the bridge of that song that is really neat. Now, the reason I was going to have us listen to Live the Myth, though, is because Live the Myth is, I think, either my third or fourth all-time favorite raunchy song. And there's an extremely heavy part in it that's a very repeated part that just gets heavier, and then it gets heavier, and then it gets heavier, and you don't think it can get any heavier, and then it gets even heavier, and you're like, oh, this is amazing. But the song does drag on a little bit because of that. There is a sung chorus in both of them. The chorus is extremely catchy on both of them. And there's really cool synth parts in both of them. So I know I kind of tried to just sell Abandon Your Hope a little bit more to you guys. And so that's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Really? Because I'm going for Live the Myth.
Well, but remember I said that there's interesting things in the bridge and all that stuff. But if you want to listen to Live the Myth, that's totally fine with me. I would say I would be curious to see if Chris thinks it's heavier than the song we just listened to. Because I think the song we just listened to is a very heavy song. But Live the Myth has, okay, we'll just do Live the Myth then. So that's the one I wanted to do more, and it's not a big deal. So then in that case, there's a really cool synth part in here that I like that kind of builds. And what they're doing is they're not playing the part differently. The part stays the same, but they're using a filter to make it seem like it's changing over the course of time, and Chris will know exactly what I'm talking about here.
Cool.
They're using a filter to add high frequencies to it, like a low pass filter, and they're bringing it up kind of. And then also with synths and stuff, you can turn knobs and stuff and add distortion. You can add all sorts of different things to a synth to maybe make it start off a little cleaner and then get dirtier and add more layers to it as it builds. So they do that, and then while that's happening, they're playing this same riff, and then the drums change a little bit, and it gets heavier, till then it explodes into the chorus. This chorus, to me, is, I would say, maybe in my top 5 favorite sung metal choruses of all time. This is a song that I walk around the house and sing at random times. It gets stuck in my head all the time. That's one of the reasons it's one of my favorite ones. I also really like this part that builds. And I really like the main riff of this song, which is going to feel similar to what we just listened to, that da-da-da-da-da-da, that sort of stepping down part of that guitar riff. You're going to hear stuff like that a lot. And for me personally, there's just such an appealing thing to the way that they write their riffs, because it resolves. Like, it's always like a da-da-da-da-da-da, or a da-da-da-da-da, like stuff like that. Like, they do these really simple, cool, like melodic things that always end kind of on the root. And it's very gratifying to me to hear this. So, all right, this is Live the Myth in 3, 2, 1.
Poppy.
Yep.
Hit your own teeth.
So here they're just doing one note, right? It's just a pattern. Here we go. There's the riff. And you can hear the other guitar playing it. And
a great build.
they repeat it again so you can really understand it. cool guitar part. That's a guitar.
No synth in there at all?
I think there's layers of synth, but the core thing you're hearing is guitar.
Cool.
They go back to the main riff for the verse, but they change it and make it a little simpler. Okay, here we go.
Love it. Savage.
Half-length chorus. Back to the main riff. Dun, dun.
Love that synth line in the back there.
Yeah. Yep. Like a little bubbly part, little bubbles. And then to the thrash. Thrash drum beat. This is Metallica drum beat all day. From Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
I love that synth.
Yeah.
Awesome synth.
Here's the build.
Little froggy synth. Rob Zombie.
Oh, yeah. And the guitars could not be doing anything more simple. It's just strumming on a chord on the root.
Which is
the
fine.
One,
That's
one of
great.
every measure. 1,000,000%.
Linkin Park does that.
Back to the original riff done on the snare drum, but now it's on the kick. Like the intro riff. And then it'll go into something a little more technical. That dancey hi-hat part. Harmonized guitar part now. I love that. Ding!
I love the ding.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a great punctuation.
Yep, and back to the verse, thrash part again. Ooh. Oh, yeah, half tempo. Final chorus with some extra heavy vocals over the top.
Oh, it's
I like that
Warzone.
ending.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. I love
Yes.
this band so much. Everything they do is so cool. Okay, so how'd you guys feel about that one? Cody, I would guess that was your least favorite one of the ones we've heard.
No, I like that more than the last one.
Okay, interesting.
I actually like the chorus was catchy.
Yeah.
And I liked whatever effect they had on the last song wasn't on this one.
Okay. Yes.
I don't really know how to describe that, but
Yeah, it was kind of
I
a
like
flangey
the
type
clean
of thing.
vocals on this.
Okay. Yep.
It just, it kills me every time I hate those other vocals. Sorry. I
No.
just don't
Hey,
like 'em.
it's totally fine.
So again, I tried to focus on the stuff in the background. The synth was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just kept focusing on the synth.
I
'cause
cannot
every time
wait.
it's like it was there most of the time, but it was so far in the background sometimes that I could
Yes.
barely hear it.
And that's kind of what I meant by this is a guitar album instead of a synth album. When we get to my favorite the two most recent albums that are out, those are much more synth keyboard programming albums than guitar albums. And the reason that I like Discord Electric so much, even though a lot of people in the metal world had a bit of a trouble with that, because it gets the juxtaposition between the poppy parts and the heavy parts is so far apart that it is honestly I understand where people are coming from. It's so jarring, the change from the chorus to the verses, that it's like a different band, different song, and that we're stepping into Japanese metal territory at that point. And I think that that's kind of what they're going for at that point, but it's held together by the glue of the synths there. Whereas here, this is the guitars running the show.
Yeah.
And I just love the way they write their riffs. Like the riff in this song, the da 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 da. Like you can there's. I don't know if I could do what I just did there with my favorite Metallica riffs. You can do that with Enter Sandman, but just like the melody, the melodiousness of these riffs is so cool, and they feel like you could dance to them. And I don't want to say that it sounds happy, but honestly, compared to so much metal that is just so much about aggression and like just being angry, this is so the opposite of that, But da 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 da, like that is not an angry riff. It isn't, but it's still heavy. It's still super heavy, and it's so good.
Wasn't there something you said about a vocal effect that made it feel like it was moving along?
Me or Cody, you mean?
You.
I don't think I said vocal effect at any point.
Might not have been vocals. Yeah.
Oh, he was talking about the effect on the synth.
Oh yeah,
that
the frequency, the
was changing that without changing the actual synth.
yeah, like making the synth feel like it's getting bigger without actually doing it. Is that the part?
Okay.
You mean?
I must have been, yeah.
Well,
I couldn't remember what it was, and then I was thought about the fact that you had mentioned something I was going to recognize, and I realized I didn't recognize it. So I was trying to figure it
Gotcha.
out.
Yeah, I think it was the like low pass filter kind of the sweeping stuff on the
Okay.
keyboards. And
Oh, sure.
The to me that part where that's most obvious, and one of the parts of that song that I like the most is when all the vocals are gone, and it is just that part. And then there's that cool bubbly sort of keyboard part in the middle, and it just feels like everything is rising, and it gets a little bit bigger, and then the drums go the last time through, and then and it just gets big, so big you can't contain it anymore, and then it's the dun 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 dun. Also, the fact that at the beginning of the song they do that, right? So they play the whole chorus, they build up to the chorus at the beginning of the song, and then they launch into the chorus part where the guitars are just strumming and holding out a chord and then just the one of every measure hitting a new one, and then over the top of that you hear the guitars doing the dun 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 dun. Like that is such a Depeche Mode thing. Like Depeche Mode could do this song and it would be awesome, and they could absolutely do a cool version of this and a lot of this stuff, but like that's just, it's all these things coming together from music just in general, forget metal, music in general that I like, and this band just does it better than like anything else. So, Chris, did you like that song more than the previous one, or do you?
I liked how heavy it was, like especially that cannonade at the end when it was just a war zone for a bit.
Yeah.
The only other band I know that has ever done that, where it's like, regular song, heavy song, and then at the very end, it's the heaviest part for just a split second, is Eminence. They do that a lot.
Okay. Interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised if, Raunchy is one of those bands that I think actually influenced a lot of modern metal music, especially keyboard bands. Because there's a lot of different ways to approach keyboards and programming in metal bands. But I think the fact that Raunchy was willing to be so blatantly obvious with the fact that they were trying to have fun and add incorporate pop elements into their music, I think it really influenced a lot of bands. And I think I would be shocked if a lot of bands that I like are bands nowadays. I would not, like you said, Poppy, Chris, I would not be surprised if Poppy didn't maybe. Now, again, Raunchy's not a huge band. So they're not like,
Right.
They are not Metallica size. I don't even think that they're Soilwork or In Flames sized. I think they are like a level below them. So I think that,
I agree.
but I still think that secretly, maybe not even secretly, I just think that
Is it maybe that they were ahead of their time rather than influential?
Oh, I definitely think that they were ahead of their time, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of bands now, because they weren't like popular doesn't mean that in the metal community everybody knows their name and probably maybe laughs at them as the butt of a joke. But the reasons that they were being laughed at the time was for the same reasons that metal nowadays is what it is. What they were doing back in the day is what makes modern metal modern now. So I do think that there's... So let's go ahead and listen to the last one from this album, and then I'll go through a little bit of that article, and we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
So we are now going to listen to my number 2 favorite guitar riff of all time. We are going to listen to track 9, The Velvet Remains. Now, first off, do you notice anything cool about the name of this song and why it would be interesting at this point in their career?
Well, that was their first album.
Right, their first
Velvet
album was
Noise.
called Velvet Noise, exactly.
Oh.
And so I would imagine that people who are maybe fans of theirs at the time were disappointed their singer was leaving. And they did receive early on in their career I wish Cody kind of would have brought up the lyrics for this. The lyrics on this album in particular go a very different direction than their previous album, which was all about smoking stogies and sitting and getting drunk and having, with all sorts of girls, any size and shape of girl,
I have been reading them, but they've not been as fun to bring up.
Right. I don't think I don't think there's necessarily too much to them. To me, it's more about what they're not about rather than what they are about. The lyrics on this album in particular are much less about like let's go party.
Yeah.
And I have read all the lyrics as I've listened to this album multiple times, but the meaning of any song is not the reason I'm here at all.
Yeah.
But I do think the fact that they named this song "The Velvet Remains," which actually it's spelled wrong on Spotify.
Velvet Remains.
Yeah.
Are you sure that maybe that's...
No, it is the Velvet Remains. It says
That's
it right.
funny. That's amazing.
The Velvet
Let 'em know.
Remains. The Vivet Remains. That's so funny. Okay, Raunchy, if you're watching this video, go fix that on your Spotify. That's really terrible. Especially because this is, to me, like one of the anthems of Raunchy.
Yeah.
So the fact that this song is called The Velvet Remains, to me says, hey, we're still the same band. Okay, everybody? And we just want to let you know our history is still a part of who we are.
Or are they saying, screw the history, this is everything that remains, we're getting it out right now?
No.
Now, I was
definitely
thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool if this was a track that they had written back on the first album days and they haven't used it, and it's almost like a reference to it being a
Leftover
B-side,
from-
The Velvet Remains.
I think once you hear the song, you'll realize that that's not true because
Sure.
this is
cool, though.
this is to me the quintessential raunchy guitar riff.
Okay.
This is all other things spawn from this, and the way it sounds, and the callbacks to the guitar, the raunchy sound, the raunchy guitar riff sound, to me kind of stems from this song. We've heard it in almost every song we've listened to so far. And by the way, the songs we're skipping on this album are quite a bit different sounding than the ones we're hearing, but for the most part, they're obviously sonically similar. We're skipping, the first track is there's guest vocalists on it because they were a little bit afraid, so they had guest vocalists from some other band do the clean vocals on that one.
Was that supposed to be the lead single or something?
No, not necessarily.
interesting.
It's just, and it is a really great song, and I debated about having us do
Oh,
that.
hell. I've ruined my life even worse. Please hold. Oh, that's a lot of spillage.
Oh no, you spilled something?
Uh-oh.
He spilled. Well, that'll be fun to zoom in on.
I don't think we could see his stuff.
No, not if he spilled it on the floor. Hopefully he didn't spill it on his microphone. Because his mic did get
It
very...
kind of sounded not, yeah.
It did get very not good. totally cool.
Oh God,
That ain't good.
that's no good. Oh, that's heavy.
That is heavy. Make a song out of that. So yeah, I knew that you would dislike this more than it was before because you didn't care for the way the harsh vocals were last time, but I didn't want to
Right.
say too much that like it's much clearer now and it's less like hodgepodgey, so it's much more intentional here.
Yeah.
And so
I could see that, sure.
and so I think that you would dislike that more because it's so much more in your face what he's doing rather than kind of being kind of mishmashed and buried into the rest of the song.
Yeah. And it's like the difference, I can't remember much from the last songs how
Right, and
those
totally fine.
vocals sounded, but like there's a difference between like screaming and like doing like a Tasmanian devil voice.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
where it's you're intentionally getting wild with it and modulating those. I don't know, like how, like I don't really know how to describe it, but
No, but you're right.
I don't care for that style of screaming. I guess
Right.
is what I'm learning.
Right. And so, yeah, that's a huge bummer. I will say as they go on, I do definitely think you will like on their most recent album, the one that's the one that I still want us to do a full album reaction on.
Okay.
You will like everything on this more.
Okay.
I really do think so. Again, that's the one that's not mixed perfectly. I had to fix it myself. But that I really do think you'll like that one the most in terms of the harsh vocals because they're more similar to what they were first. But I
Okay.
definitely think that they are much more stereotypically what you would consider metal for sure.
Okay. So they're
Yeah, whereas
more boring to you guys.
I definitely think that they're more boring. However, it definitely serves its function. And that album is so much more progressive than this stuff.
Okay.
Like, it's really, like, there are a lot of parts without guitar and stuff. And I'm not saying that the vocals are not still heavy in those parts, but especially starting with their album after this next one we're going to get to, the one that's my favorite one, A Discord Electric. They do a lot of parts where the guitars just leave the song entirely. And there's a lot more keyboards and layering of stuff. And
That's cool.
you're going to like that a lot. And then what this guy does is instead of doing the like screamy part, he does much more of like a talking type of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll just I need to probably quit I've said what need to say about the vocals. I need to probably quit harping on that and try to get past that and try to listen to it in a different way, I guess.
No, absolutely not. I don't think you need to.
Well, I'm never going to like it. That's the thing because of that. But I don't need to say every time, I don't like the vocals.
Right. You don't have to like it, but just like,
Yeah.
like I've said now a bunch of times, like for me, and again, this is not to get you into metal, but for me, when I was first getting into it, it was about waiting for and anticipating the clean vocals.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And then over time, I learned to like, and this guy is not my favorite harsh vocal singer at all.
Yeah.
I actually like vocals that are way more extreme than this. Like way more. Like, so you cannot tell what they're saying at all, but that are super low and super high. And it's the mixture of both of those things that are like super awesome to me.
Yeah.
And that's my sort of favorite style. But there are definitely, like, again, the point of this was not to show you a band that I thought that you would really like, because I would have picked 40 bands before I picked Raunchy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not about me. It's about Raunchy.
No, it's about them, and it's about.
So I'm glad you're having an opportunity to talk about your favorite band, essentially.
Right. And so, and again, I hope that we can hook like 5 people from our Discord and get them onto this and liking this band so that more people can anticipate the new album when it comes out. That's to me kind of the whole point of this. And also, like, who knows, I'll never probably get the chance to talk about them again. You know.
Yeah.
I will do a reaction to the album when it comes out, and if they happen to release it, when I'm in the hospital, I will just wait until later in the year to do it.
Yeah.
I'll just wait. I won't listen to it. I'll just wait. And
Well, it's not the kind of thing that you gotta crank out really fast anyway.
No, but
It's not the kind of release.
No, but it would be tough for me to know that it's out there in the world without listening to it.
That's true. Yeah.
So
Just
like
personally,
that would
sure.
be tough.
Yeah. Yep. I spilled milk inside my interface.
Wait, Chris, I'm going to take the sound of what your track made there. It will be a song later.
Okay.
I am
I'll take.
1,000% making that into something that's
Yeah,
going
give it to me too, because I didn't get a chance to hear it, and I
Oh.
can make neat stuff out of it. I'm sure.
If there's ever anything attacking something digital, that's the sound you can use.
Okay.
So you take your time and get back up to the way you want it to be working.
Put some rice in it.
Put some rice in it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do something with it. I took it down to the garage and I blew out the holes with the air thing,
Good.
but
Good. I mean, it was still.
We
working.
could hear you that whole time until you kind of put your headphones on and went back the second time.
well, that's because I had unplugged the USB and then I plugged it back in, but
And it
I
just
could
didn't
still hear.
connect.
I could still hear the popping when I put my headphones back on. That's why I
Yeah.
went up and grabbed a different one.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you. Good on you for having the. If that happened to me, I would not have a backup. So
Right. Yeah.
awesome
Yeah.
for you for having that. Okay. Are your levels good enough to move forward?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't hear myself as well as I could on the other one, but I think it's just going to be
We
a
can hear
difference
you.
of them.
Your levels to us are fine.
I would say you sound basically the same. So,
Cool. Very good.
Okay. All right. Let me close this real quick. Okay. So try to remember everything we were just talking about.
We were about to get into Velvet Remains.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is again there's some really special stuff that happens in this song, and I think Cody's not going to like some of it, and Chris is going to like some of it. But that's kind of been the theme of this so far.
Yeah.
I've been like 90-10 on like versus dislike for everything so far.
Right. And I don't think you're going to dislike anything here, but I really personally like what they do in the chorus of this song. Even though it's not as catchy as anything else we've heard, it is not like that. Okay, so this is The Velvet Remains. We'll just go ahead and listen to it. Again, this is, I think, my second favorite riff of all time. My number one favorite riff of all time is a song from 2 albums from now, from Raunchy.
Wow.
And so the main core riff that's going to happen pretty much right away at the beginning of the song is exactly, I absolutely adore it. So, okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
The Velvet Remains in 3, 2, 1.
It's like it's picking up in the middle of the song.
Yep, here we go. Additional guitar part off to the right, doing a harmony. Very dirty sounding guitar. Listen to that bass.
That is a fantastic riff. Really good.
And it's such a callback to all the riffs we've heard so far on every one of these songs.
Love it.
Oh, those little retardandos and stuff in there are so cool. Where they play with time like that and just Oh.
Yeah.
And this synth part, like that's such a New Order Depeche Mode type thing.
Okay, so remains is a verb, not a noun. I thought they were talking about the remains.
Oh no, it's the Velvet remaining. It's still
saying
part
the
of it.
velvet
Yeah.
still remains.
Yes. Oh, I thought you meant. Oh, the Velvet remains. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I never
don't
even
get it.
thought of it like that. The remains, like the remains of a dead body, like the remains of the Velvet. Oh,
I
that's
thought
so
it was,
cool.
But it's saying the velvet still remains.
Yes.
So it's like we still have.
Oh.
You were thinking
okay.
too metal, Cody. You're too metal for
yeah.
us. Okay, here's the bridge.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. And the drums are not enormous here. In modern metal, Cody, the drums would be huge. It'd be the loudest thing you're hearing, and it's not. That like clang, clang.
What do you suppose that is?
Sound,
working on the
sound of
railroad.
a bell or something deep.
Yeah.
deep
Anvil.
pitched. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I can barely hear that.
Yeah.
You guys point out things all the time, and I'm like, oh yeah, that has been just chiming in the background.
Calm before the storm. The second half of the chorus, but first, with the guitars just strumming.
Blast
And then-
beats.
Hi-hat, open hi-hat, which he very rarely does. And then back to it.
You really can't understand him
Yeah,
when he's singing. That's good.
yeah.
Oh,
What a
I want
great
more of
ending.
that synth. What was that? Was that going in the song before that?
Yeah, it was going the whole time.
Okay,
That's
I
what's
was not
happening.
hearing it. I wasn't hearing that until everything else dropped out.
Well, you really aren't supposed to. It's just a thickening agent in there. But that's the kind of stuff that Chris, we always say, if you take it out, you notice its absence, but you don't notice it when it's in there, and that's the purpose.
Cool. I like that. That wasn't
Okay.
bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what specifically about that. The riff was cool. Yeah. It stood out to me.
Really good stuff.
Right.
Yep.
I wish I would have had more time for this, and maybe I'll do it for the next video, but just like, I just feel like if I cut these riffs and like put them one after the other, it would sound like the same song, just like variations. And to me, that is just so cool, and they're not the only band to do that at all, but they just have this such a specific way of writing their riffs that they just all feel like they're like referencing each other. And it's probably the stupidest thing in the world, right? Like, it's probably like the fact that they're doing some like, chromatic scale thing that's just like a super simple descending whatever blah blah,
Right.
ending on the root. And it, like, whatever it is, whatever they're doing, no matter how simple it is, it's like my favorite thing in the world.
Right. And that's like the simplicity of it doesn't really matter as much as like, anytime somebody's like, no, that riff is super easy. And it's like, yeah, well then where is it? Why did they do it and no one else? Why didn't you do it? Like,
Yep.
I saw this thing a while ago that I love so much. It's basically just like a big painting that says modern art equals I could have done that, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you guys feel about the chorus of that one? Because I feel like a lot of the songs we've been skipping that had clean vocals, the choruses are more similar to this rather than like singy-songy like the other ones.
Okay.
Because to me, this one's a little less singy-songy and more like it's just more holding out, like far to see to be. Like, it's just like, it's less sing-along with it. Like, no one's going to sit in your car and be like, far.
They absolutely will.
Well, maybe. To me, that is all about the second half of the, when it's slow and then it's just, and the double bass comes in and they're just the palm muting, chugging on the guitar. So cool. You do not expect it. Comes out of nowhere. They do it both times. And then the third chorus, they start the chorus with the drums doing that and the guitar is doing like a generic Avril Lavigne type of riff. And then it goes, and then the drums come, they open up more. He does the open hi-hat. The guitars continue doing simple stuff, and then it goes into the outro riff, which is the intro riff reprised. So, like, yeah, I don't know. How did you guys feel about that one?
I like
Chris?
that a lot.
Yeah?
I mean, that riff was just really so good and probably my favorite song so far.
I mean, to me, that riff, it like, if you made like an 8-bit version of any of these songs, Chris, I feel like it would just bop. right? Because these riffs are just made for stuff like that, you know? Like it would just, it's such a synth wave type of bass, synth bass type thing.
Yeah,
They're just doing
wish
it on
I
their
was-
guitars.
I wish I was here and not a keyboard.
I hate that you
I
said that,
wish
Cody, because
Well, I know that that's the cool thing about it, but
no. What I was going to say was one of the things. Again, I was in the hospital so damn much this week, but one of the things I was going to do was I was going to figure out what these riffs were and just bring a keyboard here and sit and play them and be like, oh, I've realized in learning all these that it is the same stupid thing over and over, just with different patterns. But I
mean, that's
couldn't-
music. That's just the description of music.
Yes. But like, yes, I absolutely think these songs would all translate super well into electronic songs.
yeah.
And that is one of the things I love about it. Like, there is something so Depeche Mode in all of this to me, but I can't just sit here and say that to you because it's so widely, there's such a gap between these two things that it's hard to see those comparison, but like it's so clear to me in my head, you know? And I said like
Yeah.
new Order there. Like they're definitely doing like Blue Monday type of stuff all throughout this. And there's so much 80s influence with what's happening. It's not like overtly obvious stuff that you can point to and be like, that's 80s, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I don't
Yeah.
know. Okay, how would you rank that one compared to the other ones? And again, I know it's been a while. We took a little break there while Chris is having some technical difficulties.
Crisis.
I don't know how much that'll get in there, but it's definitely going to be part of that in there.
I feel like the initial spill would be good, and then cut the cleanup.
And I forget what you said, but it would be a great sample to use. Like, well, that's a significantly bad thing to happen, or something like that.
Yeah,
So matter of factly, just like
because I got all tangled up in my headphones, and you're talking, and I'm like turning into like an idiot trapped in the fucking blinds or whatever.
Yep, and then you're like, oh, that'll make things significantly
it's
harder.
Like, it's like I've ruined my life. Holy hell!
Classic. There's going to
even
definitely
more.
be a blooper reel at the end of this. Okay, so before we move on to the next album, because that's the last track we're going to do on this album, I did really want you guys to hear the final track on this one because I feel like it's a good final track. And the chorus is so different from anything else, but we're not going to do that. We're going to just move on because I think the next album is what you guys are going to enjoy that a lot more. But before we get into that, I want to look up. I think you will. So I want to just go through a little bit of this article. Again, this is from nocleansinging.com. If you go to nocleansinging.com, actually just go to Google and type in No Clean Singing Raunchy. It'll bring up the first link you can click on. It just says No Clean Singing
Raunchy Archives.
Raunchy Archives, exactly. And then you can click on any one of their albums and bring up the review. And for those of you who don't remember, there was this guy who was kind of basically, they were what do they call it? They were kind of hazing this guy or whatever, and gave him this task as a way to like, haha, look at this new guy, you're such an idiot. And by the time he got to this, they were all like, wait, you're actually doing this? And he's like, yes. So
it's so funny to me, like that it seems like that. Oh yeah, we challenged him to review the entire discography of the Danish metal band Raunchy, and amazingly, he has done it. It's like, brother, it's like 6 albums from a good metal band. Like, how hard can this be?
I will say, to his credit, he mentions how many times he's like listened to each album in these articles, and he listens to the entire. Like, usually, what he says is the first time he puts it on just while he's working on other stuff. So while he's doing something, he puts it on and just listens to it as background stuff. Then he focuses on it and listens to it like 2 or 3 more times. But he listens to each album like around 10 to a dozen times before he sits down to write part. And actually, he writes it as he's listening to it. So parts of the article he writes when he's just listened to it once. Then he goes back, edits, does things. So it's kind of written as he's doing it, as almost like journal style. It's actually really neat. So the first part of this article is basically him going through and saying that Raunchy's kind of a different band now because they have new singers. He kind of explains what's going on. He says, as has been the case so far, some of this will be a stream of okay, that's just him talking about how I'm writing. So Death Pop, this is about the album as a whole. Death Pop Romance seems to be the disc where the metalcore descriptor in Raunchy's many genre listings seems to be coming out the strongest because
Hell yeah.
he says, because wow, do a lot of these songs fit right in with that scene. A couple of the songs even have full-blown breakdowns, and at one point it seemed like the band were on the verge of becoming Atreyu for 30 seconds.
I'm into what's being said.
Yeah, which is very funny. It says there's no more accidental Fear Factory present in this band anymore, just knife-sharp guitar leads and full-blown hardcore screaming. So that's exactly what I was saying, hardcore-style vocals, lots of guitar leads. It says, Jeppe Christensen, the group's keys player, steps forward to pick up most of the clean vocals, blah, blah, blah. The craziest sounding thing about Death Pop Romance is that it actually seems to be the heaviest that the band has been so far. Both guitarists, and he mentions them, seem to be shredding away and trying to cram a bunch of leads into each song, whereas before it seemed like both were there as rhythm only, which is exactly what we said. There's a ton of double bass pedal work. It feels like the guys took the formula from Confusion Bay and decided, okay, this same thing, but darker, heavier, and angrier. Again, I'm all there for all that.
Mm-hmm. I have no complaints so far about what's being said.
He makes a good point. He says it's a little less original, but it sends a clear message of what they were trying to do at this time, which I feel is true. Maybe a little less original than the sort of more overtly 80s feel of Confusion Bay. One of the unsurprising things about this disc was that the song Phantoms was the one that got a music video. And then he talks about that one. He says it's a very feels like a Dark Tranquility song, blah blah, super powerful in the chorus, but it's actually still catchy and it's something he likes. You might remember from my ramblings on the group's second disc, Confusion Bay, that I jokingly mentioned that the band loved the cymbal swing beat, which is the type thing, or the that type of thing. And I'm surprised it took until the song City of Hurt on the back half of the album for it to pop up. But the drummer does it all the time. It's really cool. It says two songs that really struck out are Persistence and Abandon Your Hope, which we did not listen to either of those, so never mind. In comparison to Confusion Bay, I actually enjoy Death Pop Romance about as much because they feel like two sides of the same coin. One is in the heavier spectrum than the other, and although it seems like an obvious path for a band to have gone down, it still really works really well for them. It's the disc where the mellow death and the metalcore, melodic death metal, melodic death metal and metalcore categorization for the band really come out. It says, my only thing is that maybe Death Pop Romance doesn't age as well as Confusion Bay because unfortunately metalcore riffs have a tendency to date themselves. And then he says, if you've lived and followed the music long enough, you can almost pinpoint the exact year something came out by what that riff is doing. Now, I personally, like I've said multiple times, think Raunchy's riffs are quite unique to them, but maybe I haven't heard enough of the music he's referencing. If anyone was watching this and you're like, wow, all these guitar riffs remind me of this band, please let me know. I would love to listen to anything that this reminds people of. And then his last big paragraph is, I do think Death Pop Romance, despite the title and the band's name, is actually a pretty vicious, biting dog of a disc. I'm sure, though, that the lack of consistency between albums is still something that had an effect in marketing and made them harder to sell. They seem to be very successful over in Europe, but they must have had issues reaching America, because I'll own up to not really knowing of the band until their album from 2013, basically. And even then, they were blah, 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 something about basically hating their album. Their style seems to change each album so far for him, which is what he's saying. And that he says, this has been a pretty fun bit of discovery, though, because I found the two discs so far in Confusion Bay and Death Pop Romance that he actually enjoyed them a lot, which, as we said, this guy is definitely one of those metal elitists. And so he definitely wasn't the type of person that would seem to have on paper liked a lot of what's happening here and been more of a Chris Schoenberg rather than a Chris Parker. So
that whole time you're reading that review and I'm talking about how like that sounds great, I'm looking that's really cool, that's all sounding good, I didn't realize you were reading the review for the album we just listened to.
Oh yes, that was the one we just listened to. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I apologize if I didn't mention that. Yeah, I figured we'd listen to the album first, then go over what he said, because last video we kind of went over what he said and then used that as a jumping off point. But I don't think we need to do that anymore since you have previously experienced that. Okay, so now we are going to be moving on to an album that I like more than that one. Now we are on Wasteland Discotheque. So there's one really important thing here. and that is that this album must, it's a requirement, this album must be listened to loud as hell. You have got to turn this album up as loud as you can because this album just demands it, okay? Also, on YouTube, this album cover is banned. Not banned.
You're like showing it right now.
I know. I'm going to get this video blocked because it's violence against women.
Too graphic.
It's violence against women.
Is that a woman?
This is a woman, and they're dancing. But, because there's a little bit of red on her face, I think that the algorithm tells you that I guess he beat her up or something.
What is this information that you have?
They put the blood on her face.
It's not blood. It's just...
Well, it's just photoshopped on there.
No, it's legitimately not blood. Okay, you see all over the artwork. The artwork is all about, like, graffiti and stuff. It's literally just like a pattern that happens to be partly on her face. She also has black and white on her body here. That's the same pattern. It's on it's on him too.
Where do you get the idea that image is banned because it's violence against women?
It's not necessary. Okay, so it's not on YouTube. It's on Google. If you search this on Google, all the images come up with that blur over them, and it says you have to do extra clicks on them and you have to say
safe search
view image, and you have to turn safe search off to see this. And I had to do that to find. Oh, hold on. I'm glad you guys reminded me.
Maybe it's the disco ball.
Hold on, we've switched over to this album. So there you go. This is what I'm talking about, everybody that's been watching this video. There's the cover of the album.
I like the squished disco ball.
Yes.
Why is it? It's like...
It's kind of stretched. I don't know.
Mine does not do that.
Yeah. Well, the back image does not have it on there. It doesn't matter. The image is not super important. I just brought it up as a joke. I didn't expect to waste a minute talking about this. So this is Wasteland Discotheque, one of my favorite album titles of all time. It's so stupid, and the way they spell the word discotheque, the German way,
very European,
is just so infuriating when you're typing this up to search it, because you do not expect there to be an H anywhere in the word discotheque. Mm-hmm. Maybe during the tech part, if you were spelling the word tech, discotheque, but no, it's discotheque. So anyway,
Disco the Q.
The Q. Love it. Okay, so this is really cool. The disc is bright yellow, and we're getting into interesting artwork from the band. Here's the picture of them from that era. This is Casper, the new vocalist here. This
we're getting into vocalist number 3. All right.
No. Yeah, this is second vocalist. Same guy. This is the same lineup as the previous album we just heard.
Oh, okay.
And it will continue to be the same lineup in the next album as well that we'll do in a separate video. And then we'll move on to a new singer for their most recent album.
Oh, okay.
So, I say let's not waste any time with this. However, you may notice if you pull up Spotify, the first track is 2 minutes and 19 seconds long. So I was going to see if you guys wanted to listen to that. It is the intro to the album. It is just an album intro. It's instrumental. It's the lead into the album, and it is an actual song, but it's just building up into the lead of this.
Why would we want to listen to that? Do we want to listen to that?
We absolutely do not have to.
Do you want to?
The way you reacted to that and the fact you're asking the question tells me you don't want to.
Well, it's not so much that. It's just that I know how you generally don't care for intro tracks, and everything about it is something that you would not want to listen to. And so it's like, if there's a reason that you can think of why we should want to listen to it.
It's the first intro. It's the first instrumental song that they've written, that they put on an album. It's the first time that they've chosen to actually put something that was a clear intro on an album. Mm-hmm. It is an interesting piece of music. It is a song. It's just not, there's no lyrics. It's not like,
if there's nothing unique or special about it, then
let's just forget about it. Mm-hmm. So we're moving on to Somewhere Along the Road is going to be the first song we're going to listen to here.
Okay.
There's one very obvious single on this album, a la Phantoms from the previous album, and that song is Warriors. And I debated about having us start with the obvious single on this album too, but I think it makes more sense to start with the first real song. Mm-hmm. And so we're just going to listen to Somewhere Along the Road. That's another reason I thought we could listen to the intro so that it would go right into it, but it's definitely not necessary. One thing you'll notice on this album is we are going to start getting more piano So we're going to get more piano sounds. And one of my favorite sounds on the entire universe is those dark, low, deep piano notes that just resonate. Those huge clangs that like Rob Zombie uses.
The stuff
on
that
occasion.
no one uses enough.
No, not at all. I use it in all my music, so I get to enjoy it when I listen to my music that I've never released. So we're going to hear more piano, and that's kind of one of the things they do in the intro a lot, which is whatever, doesn't matter. But we're going to hear a little bit more synths on this album, but also the guitars are a little bit more loose, and everything is just tightened up sound-wise. I do think this album sounds a lot better than the previous one, though it definitely exists in the same bucket. So,
Okay.
all right,
do it.
Somewhere Along the Road by Raunchy from 2008 from their album Wasteland Discotheque. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, look, it's that signature Raunchy riff again. More cymbals.
Back to cigars and big cars.
You caught it right away. I think his screaming is much better on this album.
It sounds a little further away than the previous album.
Interesting. This song has only distorted vocals, only harsh vocals. This is the song that specifically references back to that first song I was going to have us listen to off of Confusion Bay, where I was like, they reference these lyrics. Remember the words that they said, London town, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, London town, New York City, big cigar, that stuff, that's all in this song.
Okay.
This is the chorus right here. I love the ending of this song, Chris, because they pull a Metallica several times.
You're not leaving a lot of room for very many surprises. So tell us about this.
I just want you to know what to look for.
Ooh, that was awesome. As was that.
Oh, yeah. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Thrash beat.
Is pulling Metallica refusing to end the song on all of the
Yes.
endings that it has? They really do, man.
I love it. I love it. and then boom, da-da-da-da-da-da, boom.
Yep.
Okay,
That's
so
great.
the reason we listen to that one is to just say, hey, here's where we are, here's what Raunchy's doing, and now we're gonna get weird. So that one is a callback to previous Raunchy. It's the first song on the album, so it's letting you know what's going on. If we had listened to the first song on the previous album and the first song on the album before that, all three of those songs really work well together. But I chose not to have us do that because in the first video, we chose not to listen to that first song off of Confusion Bay. But the first song on each of these three albums do really connect nicely. And this was the one that I felt strong enough about that we should go ahead and listen to it. Because I love that ending. I knew Chris would enjoy the like Metallica style of like ending a song, but wait, it's not over yet. Okay, when are they going to end
Well,
it?
it's funny because I don't know. I was going to say it's okay when Metallica does it, but that's a whole different story. But like, it was kind of exhausting here. Like, oh, come on, you're killing me. Like,
They're absolutely doing that on purpose, and
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great. So, okay, so Cody, I imagine you disliked a majority of that.
I like the fun lyrics are back. I like that.
Yep,
I
yep.
suppose.
the
I
vocal,
probably wouldn't have caught half of them if I didn't have them up.
yeah,
Right, for sure.
coming. The vocals are very. It doesn't have that strain that we talked about in the previous album. Like it's like, oh, this later in the career of someone who's been working this out.
Yes, I think he seems much more mature in his style, his way of singing. Like, I feel it sounds much more natural. And that was one of the examples of him. He was singing that. You know, he was screaming it the whole time, but he was actually going, I died along with you
Yeah.
somewhere along the road. I tried so very hard watching you fade. Like, rhythmically, they're doing interesting stuff to keep your attention. And that's what I mean. Like, you can sing along with that. You can sing along with that.
You just reminded me of who that reminded me of the most recent Under Oath. No, not most recent. The Under Oath album from 2017.
Okay.
That was actually really similar.
Okay, interesting. Very cool. Again, I always love comparisons to this kind of stuff because I've looked and not found a band that
I think you'd like that album a lot, actually.
Yeah, and we've talked about Under Oath before, and the only thing I know of them is some of their very early work, and I didn't care for it at the time, but I'm sure they...
Quite a bit different, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. But okay, that's enough of that. Now we're going to... I'm so excited for this. All right, now we're going to track 4, Warriors. And lo and behold, would you look at that, 3,221,000 plays. Raunchy,
Yeah, they're getting a lot of plays on a few of these tracks.
Raunchy's getting pretty up there. So, here is Warriors in 3, 2, 1.
Cool.
Very Avenged Sevenfold in that riff.
Okay.
Just all of this, actually. Man, there's a lot of Avenged Sevenfold in this
So
song.
there we're getting in the vocals lower and high-pitched screaming, stuff like that. There's more layering to it.
Vocals were wide and now they're centered.
Yep.
Almost some Maynard in the vocal for the clean singing.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I love this clean guitar part here. Yep. Not a lot of metal bands would do that. Little cymbal clang there for you, Chris, going into the chorus.
This chorus is very singy.
I love those like odd time like Can you say, please write me a single and put it on your album?
I don't think this sounds too much more singly than the rest of their songs.
Interesting. To
Other
me,
than
it's
that
like,
chorus is killer, but
to me, it's so obviously more radio friendly. Doubled vocals. Kind of a guitar solo.
I feel like the production's better on the previous album.
Okay, interesting.
But this isn't bad. It just feels a little bit smeary.
Okay. Okay. So there's the song for you on the album, Cody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it more than the screaming ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the keyboard that when it was just the keyboard at the beginning and towards the end there, they did that.
Yeah, the piano sound and the. How did you feel about the lyrics there?
I don't know.
I am the one that brings death and
Yeah,
dirty girls. If I was your god, you would live all day and all night long.
It's funny because the lyrics feel like what you would make them in the other language. Like you write your lyrics and it's all in Danish or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it can be whatever we want because nobody's going to bother to translate it. But then they just translated it.
Right. Oh man, I would love it if there's actual Danish versions of these songs out there in the world, and I could listen to these whole albums with different lyrics. That'd be great. But
Yeah, I wonder how you write lyrics as I assume that's their second language, but they write all their songs in English.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting.
I like that it's clearly like a return to that sort of style. And
Yeah.
this album is much more playful lyrically, for sure, than the previous one. And that continues throughout every one of the songs. So for the next track, I don't think there's anything like super unique or special in that one. The piano is like the most obvious thing that really stands out to me. But it's the fact that like when he came in and was doing that, I am the one that brings revenge at dawn. Like he wasn't he was screaming. I would still consider that a harsh vocal, or it was harsh vocal, but it wasn't really screaming, you know?
Yeah.
If you remember Lars on the first album, he did that like low cringy voice that Chris Schoenberg hates so much when he would do stuff like type stuff. Lower than that and way better than I can do. and I can't think of any of the lyrics to those songs right now, but a lot of the lyrics on that first album were him just basically singing in the lowest register that he could. And it was more of a growly type of thing without it being like harsh. Whereas this, he's doing that now, but there's more harshness to it. And so hearing this, I'm like, oh, I could see this guy doing those old songs perfectly live when they do them live. And so, you know, because before I'm like, I don't know, it would be hard to imagine that. And he does that a little bit on the previous album too. We just didn't listen to any of the songs where he does that sort of low voice type thing, but he does that a lot more here, and he does it a lot more on the next album. So, okay, so the next song you guys get to choose. I was going to have you do Straight to Hell, which is a song of theirs that I absolutely adore. But I definitely think it's one of their heaviest songs, especially on this album. And there's no clean vocals. There are some like backgroundy clean vocals. Or we could do Wasteland Discotheque, the song, which has a really cool synth part. The chorus is also no clean vocals, but it is a much more accessible song. So I kind of is up to you guys.
Pick the one you think Chris will like better.
The one Chris would like more.
Yeah.
I think you'll both kind of laugh at and have fun with Wasteland Discotheque.
Okay.
I personally think the better song is Straight to Hell, and I Straight to Hell is one of my favorite songs on my list. So I'm sorry, everybody, I keep sniffing. I should go get Kleenexes. I wonder if I have any just sitting around here that are half used.
Oh, I'll assume you mean the box is half gone.
No. I mean like a half-used Kleenex that I could kind of unfold and try to use since it's dry. You know.
No.
Hey, you use what you got.
When you got cancer, there's a lot of things that are just acceptable to you at certain points. Let's have fun. Since we're here to have fun,
Yeah,
let's
do
have
it.
fun with
Wasteland.
Discotheque.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Cody, get ready. You're gonna like the first 10 seconds of this song, and then it's gonna go downhill for you.
All right.
All right. In 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, that's fun.
Can they do that on the guitar? You bet they can.
And that I don't know, that up tempo or whatever's happening on the hi-hat. I don't know what to call that. Offbeat or whatever. And it's a totally different vibe now, even though they just changed the hi-hat back to where, you know, on the downs.
Yep. I'm going to go get a Kleenex while you guys are listening to this one. Make sure you tell me what happens when I get back.
Okay.
Low vocal soup. I love that.
Wasteland Discotheque.
He's tasted all of them.
No, I don't know how I feel about the way that sort of like shouted vocal there.
Okay, interesting. I love the way the kick drum sounds. It's massive.
It is. Very little snare. It's almost wooden.
Yes, very wooden sounding snare. Sweet, sweet, sweet.
Yeah, I don't like that note.
Interesting.
That riff is cool.
Oh yeah.
Love the little bend in it.
Yep.
I like this. Like that.
Changing the words a little bit. Okay. Okay, so Chris, you didn't like that last note he goes to, huh?
It just, the way he slid into it, it felt weird. I don't know.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I think it's supposed to be a little somewhat unnatural sounding.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not like he's trying to hit something he can't. It's obviously intentional. It's just fun.
Yeah.
I liked when he was singing those 4 lines or whatever leading up to that, how he was screaming that a lot better than his.
That was sort of in line with like what Rise Against does. Like, it's almost like a shout in a different sort of way. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
It was definitely more sing-songy.
yeah.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I wasn't going to listen to that song, because it's so much like a, thank you for all the times we've shared. Now you want it so bad. Like, you can sing all these parts, That's what he was doing essentially, but it's just more of a scream part, Like all the rest, you're sweet, sweet, sweet. I've
was nice to hear
tasted
something.
all of them. See, that's why you don't like it, Chris,
like that.
because it's not resolving.
Yeah, that might be it.
He does like the same note twice instead of going down. Or
I think that's what it is.
Tasted all of them, like that. Like, there's other notes he could go to that would be more pleasing than that. And so it's a definitely intentional thing there. But especially when you have a song that's da 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 da, like, it's such a happy-ish sounding song, and the drums are that boom tis boom tis boom tis type thing. Yeah, that's just a kind of a fun one. The complete opposite of the one we were just gonna get our balls shredded off to. So that's fun. And maybe if we decide we want to, we can listen to that one too. But yeah, I don't know. We've now listened to 2 songs on this album that didn't have any real clean vocals. During the chorus, there was that neat part, or the bridge. There was that neat part.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of just an interesting, different little thing. And then that's kind of just, to me, that just seems like a song that's meant to be played live. And everyone's supposed to be like reaching out to him. Thank you for all the times we've shared. I mean, it does not get cheesier than that. I mean, that is ultimate slice of cheese. That is cheese and a half. So now let's move into something that is not cheese at all. We're going to be going to the next track.
Oh.
This is Somebody's Watching Me with 1 million plays. You guys ready?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's
Way cooler. Love
so
it.
Is it sampled or is that?
Vocoder, probably.
I mean, this is a cover, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, this is the Michael Jackson, whatever.
Rockwell.
I'm just an average man with an average life. I live from 9 to 5, hell, I'll pay the price. All I want is to be left alone in my average home. But why do I always feel like I'm in the twilight zone? I always feel like somebody's watching me.
What a killer chorus this is.
I always feel like somebody's watching me. Who's playing tricks on me? When I come home at night,
This is great.
Oh yeah.
This is
This is my favorite cover of all time.
yeah.
I think. There's some really good ones out there.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part right here.
Whoa.
Someone there.
Just a little nuts, but maybe
Whisper screaming is great.
Oh yeah. I knew you'd like that.
It should be louder.
They're doing what Pink Floyd did, you know? It's not about being in the forefront.
Sure. And I love that synth. And it feels like so more of a Halloween-y song than the original does.
Right. And this was released around Halloween. All of their
okay.
albums are.
Interesting. Yeah, you said that. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. They really lean into the Halloween on their next album, which is one of the reasons it's my favorite.
They took out my favorite line from the original.
What's your favorite line?
Where he goes, I wonder who's watching me now. The IRS?
The IRS? Well, see, they don't have that in Denmark.
They don't have the IRS.
They don't actually feel like someone's watching them either, but they still say it.
Oh no, in Europe you are being watched all the time.
Yeah.
It
What?
has more meaning.
CCTV or whatever the...
Yep. Every light bulb.
Yep.
Cool.
So I wanted to kind of rush into that before you could be like, is this a cover of the song Somebody's Watching Me? But I know I've shown Chris that before, probably multiple times.
Definitely not multiple times. If it's
Okay.
ever happened, I don't remember it, but
Okay,
that's a
well.
great cover.
Yeah. I know I played it in our music room episode where we just talked about covers.
That could be.
Because how could I not? I mean,
Right.
I love. There's nothing cooler to me than a pop song made covered in a metal band.
Yeah.
There's nothing cooler.
I love it.
Absolutely
time.
nothing. I wish.
the synth stuff sounds like straight out of the original, and then with the guitar over it was like completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when they just started, it was just the synth. I'm like, that sounds like they're just sampling that. Is this just going to be like a different song that just samples that synth or something?
Yeah.
But it was pretty clear once the guitars kicked in what they were doing there.
So how did you feel then about the way he approached the vocals there during the verse? Because now this is the same thing we heard kind of on that, I am the one that brings revenge at dawn. That's
Yeah.
the same thing as this,
It made it sound
I'm
so
just an average
sinister.
man. Yes,
Like
right?
it made him sound paranoid. It made him sound like sinister and paranoid and Halloweeny.
I just love when the song kind of stops and he goes, when I'm in the shower,
Yeah.
I'm afraid to wash my hair, because I might open my eyes and find someone there. Like, it's so cool. It's so stupid. And this is much more what their next album feels like. Like this.
That's great.
And so I'm so excited for you guys to get to that. But I didn't want to lump that album in with this and have it
good.
just get overburdened, So speaking of burden, the next track we're going to do is the track immediately following this is A Heavy Burden. And the special thing about this song is this is Raunchy featuring Lars Vongstrup.
Oh.
Their original singer came back and sang on this song with the new singer that replaced him. And this is flippin' awesome. This is Cody, you are gonna like this one, I think.
That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever heard of that happening.
It is very rare. Very rare. Because generally when someone leaves a band, it is not on good terms. And in this case, it was. And I think it's for the betterment of the band. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, yeah. So let's just go ahead. We're going to listen to A Heavy Burden, then we'll pause, and then we'll listen to the last song on this album. Not the last song, but the last song we're going to do, which is my favorite song on this album, which is To the Lighthouse.
Okay.
And then we'll wind the video down.
Wait a second. This is... Oh,
This
okay.
is A Heavy Burden.
I couldn't find it because it's already
Yep.
selected. Gotcha.
This is A Heavy Burden, and then we're going to do To the Lighthouse, but we'll pause a little bit between there.
Right.
So this is A Heavy Burden. Maybe want to rewind it if it started playing, before based on me. Okay, A Heavy Burden in 3, 2, 1.
Love that hi-hat rhythm.
Yeah.
It's interesting that's on the right.
I love this verse riff. Harmonizing it here. There's good old Lars. I love those moments of just like,
Yeah.
I love it.
Is this the same type of scream vocal he did on the previous album?
Yes. However, he's just doing it so much better.
Okay.
Also, there's more overdubbing of it. So that he's doing 2 tracks.
Okay.
So is this the guy singing with the guy that replaced him? Or
Yes.
with... Okay, that's cool.
It's all 3 of them.
Oh, they are all three.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I guess this is...
In the chorus, or?
Yeah, this is all 3 of them right here.
Cool.
Probably less Casper, but he comes in here to do this next part. And then Lars can do a lower voice, so he's doing the lower one kind of here.
Cool.
A little bit of a callback here to Confusion Bay. The whole album. Oh, the drumming is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, this band is too good. We don't deserve this band.
I love the single, like the synth pad under this. It's just
Yes.
doing so much, like, adding of like thematic elements.
Yep.
It's so spooky now.
Back to the intro riff. or the intro part.
I'll listen to that cymbal just sit there and ring. That was
I
nice.
love it. Yep. And then it goes into the next song, which is the one we're going to be listening to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, how did you? You gotta have liked that one, Cody, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
I mean,
did.
that one is much more of a poppy type of song than
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, the last two we've listened to have been fun. I like them.
And especially that during that big part where it's just the screaming vocals, the da 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 da. When it goes to the like, I just his fills when he does that the fast fill stuff. I just love it so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's so cool that Lars came back. I don't think that there was really any moment during that song where it was literally really like here's Lars featuring.
Right.
It was more like he was kind of filling in stuff. And I think he only did like minimal takes because the last part under that verse where he goes on into the night, like he does this kind of like weird low thing, and it's copy and pasted every time. Like it's in every chorus the same way. But like, who cares? It's awesome that he's there. The low vocals are what he's there contributing, so you're hearing that. And I think he's doing highs too, but I think his high voice sounds quite similar to Yeppy's, and so or Yeppe. People get always mad at me when I mispronounce things, but you know, say my name in your dialect and tell me that it's perfectly the way I pronounce Patrick. Right? It's not Patrick. It's not Patrick. No, you bitch. So
Talking to nobody right now. I'm just mad at the camera.
So okay, so I want to do something special after we're done with this next song. So let's go ahead, or well, I can't decide if I want to do it or not. Let's just end, and then we'll kind of talk about what we've heard all total, and we'll see what you guys think. You know, sort of overall overview type thing.
Okay.
So this next one, this is one of my top 5 favorite raunchy songs. I adore the chorus in this song. I love like really every part of this song. After this, there's kind of a meh song, and then the final song on this album. Again, these last two we're not listening to. We're just listening to the Lighthouse. The last song,
8-minute track to end it.
the last one is really interesting. Yes, it is very progressive and much more indicative of what they would become on Vices, Virtues, Visions. They're the one we're going to do a full reaction to. Which that song has several songs. That album has several songs over 7 minutes long, like 2 or 3 of them. And then there's a couple that are just like not even just around 3 minutes because there's like 2 pop songs on that album. So it kind of offsets itself. But yeah, let's just go ahead and listen to this, see what you guys think. I think I used this song in a video on my channel that I made. I'll try to find it and maybe post a link or something to it there. But I have 2 videos on my channel. One is the 14 most catchy modern metal songs. And I made this video back in like 2006 or 2007. And it was literally just clips of bands with the picture of the band and the song and the album that it came from and the year it came out. And I used the most recent albums up to that point. So it must have been 2008, I guess, since this song's on it. So it must have made it in 2008. But that video, those 2 videos, that one, and I also have the 14 catchy, or the catchiest, and then 14 modern melodic metal bands that are like worth your time listening to, or some crap like that. And those are 2 videos that are like grandfathered in on my channel, and they each have like a lot of views, like way more views than any of our Metallica videos have, or anything that's like.
That's cool.
Yeah,
You
they
were
have
doing
like
clickbait
several
before it was
100,000
cool.
views.
Very
Well, it's
cool.
not clickbait. It's actually like. I know the title of it definitely sounds that way, but like I'm really proud of those videos, and I highly recommend anyone go check them out. Raunchy is in both of those, doing different songs, and this is this song "To the Lighthouse" is one of the ones that I chose. I think to be in the. I don't know if it's the catchiest or the other one. I can't remember which one I chose to use it in, but
Do a reaction to those. See if you still agree with them.
I would probably change some of them out. But man, that's a great idea, Cody, because that would show you all the bands I was into at the time, and they all have like clean sung choruses, every one of them, and there's really interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
Plus Mook's in it, and you have yet to hear Mook. So,
You're better
all right,
off.
this is. Were you going to say you're better off? No, you're not.
Better
Mook
off
is great.
Mookless.
No. Mook is great. Mook is great. Don't listen to Chris when it comes out. Okay, To the Lighthouse by Raunchy in 3, 2, 1.
Heavy.
Are you ready to dance? Here we go. Ooh, double bass. And here we go. Oh, I love it. I love the progression of that riff.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's coming now.
They brought that in really well.
Not a ton of double bass on the album so far otherwise, is there?
Yeah, there's not been a lot on this one.
Yeah.
Now, we are skipping the balls to the wall songs, so.
That's fine.
Some low vocals right here, To the Lighthouse. Love it.
This is great.
I knew you'd like this one, Chris. There you go.
Ding.
Those guitars are so big. To the Lighthouse. It's so Alan Wake, you know?
Yeah.
It's so, what's that video game with the girl going to college?
Control?
No, the girl going to college.
Go to college.
No, not Gone Home.
It's coming home from college.
Yes.
Oh,
And then disappearing mysteriously. Spoiler. Oh, it's a great game. Damn it, what the hell is it? There's like a bunch of sequels. One just came out recently.
I'm trying to think of it. I've almost
It's
got
like,
it.
Oh, don't let it distract you from the awesome parts of the song. We'll think of it. We'll think of it.
Yeah, it's better to stop thinking about it.
Yeah. Baby.
Interesting. Life is Strange.
Yes, I kept thinking before the storm, before the storm, before the storm. Yes, Life is Strange.
The sound making proud with its light scattered all over.
Those are some great lines.
Great song.
Hold on, I've got it. I got to pause it. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Great song.
Yeah. Oh man, isn't it just a bop? That is
That's
such a
great.
good one. That part at the beginning, that like my number one comment that I got on that video on YouTube is that is the beginning of a Pantera song. Like that.
Interesting.
They were like, this is the exact copying of a Pantera song. So, and I don't know anything about Pantera other than Walk.
Yeah, same.
You know, and so like that's definitely a band I'm looking forward to doing in the future. And if there's any Pantera in Raunchy, I'm excited to listen to Pantera. But I'm excited to listen to Pantera anyway. But that's really cool. So first of all, don't be all like,
This is Red Section from Miss Pantera. They're competing Pantera. They suck.
don't do that. But yeah, I don't know. That is such a cool song. I like how after the second chorus, the song kind of meanders away from itself for a little bit, and it's doing something completely different, and then it finds its way back. And that is definitely something that we're going to hear more of on that final album, Vices, Virtues, Visions, where they get more proggy. And it's like, I love songs that are long songs that the first half of it, we'll say, maybe a little bit less than the first half, the first 3/4, or no, whatever, the first 3/8 of it or something, are the first half of a regular song. And then there's just like 2 to 3 minutes of a completely different song. And you're like, and then it somehow magically finds its way back to where it started, and it ends with the chorus. That's like one of my favorite structures of a song. And this one did that on sort of a bit more of like a minor, thing. But I just love how heavy that song can be, but also then how melodic it is in the chorus. And it's like the slowest chorus. The drums are just doing that, and the guitars are just doing this sort of indeterminate, like sort of side white noise thing. And it's all about him singing, and it's all about the very simplistic nature of it. Mm-hmm. And it's heavy vocals before that. And I love every time they do the "to the lighthouse" word. There's the "to the lighthouse," like the low voice there. I think it's so cool. I think "To the Lighthouse" is maybe one of the most badass song titles I've ever heard. "To the Lighthouse." I just think it's so cool. Yes. What was the name of the band? Life is Strange is the name of the game. Is the name of the game we were thinking of. To the
Never
Lighthouse.
played it.
Don't know why.
Well, you suck, Cody.
What'd he
Sorry.
say?
It was free. He said I never played it.
Oh, I played it once wrong.
How'd you do it wrong?
I don't know. I blitzed it in like 2 hours, and I was like, well, what the hell was the point of that?
Oh yeah, that was a really stupid way to do that. Wow. Holy cow. Yes. Yes.
Yep.
You did.
I got yelled at for playing it wrong.
That's like playing The Witcher 3 and only main quest lighting that game.
Right,
And,
yeah.
And only golden pathing that one and never. Oh, that would be terrible. But yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about that. That's a fantastic game, though. Highly recommend to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it was free on PlayStation Plus. So Cody, you have no excuse
I'll recommend Gone Home.
other than your Xbot now. But Gone Home, yes. One of only 2 first-person games I've managed to make it all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
That and, of course, one of the greatest games of all time, The Witness,
Exactly.
which Cody had to help me platinum.
I forced you to even really consider it.
You did, and I'm so grateful you did. It is one of the most gratifying games I've ever played without
yeah.
question. The greatest puzzle game ever made.
I'll play it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, you should play it. It's fantastic.
Is that guy ever going to make another game? What's his name?
Jonathan Blow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is he?
I know which one that is. Is that
It's
not
very
the Witness? No,
pretentious. It's
yes. I keep thinking of Braid, and it's the Braid. The Witness
It's
came
the
after
Braid
that.
sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Maze game.
It is. His games are very pretentious. You're right.
Yeah. I'm
In the
sure
best
he's-
way possible.
But
He's probably
but
working
Braid
on
was like
something.
fantastic, and like the special twist ending was crazy good, and I was not nearly smart enough to do that game without any help.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no, the cool thing about Witness is that you really can't get help to the extent like Cody helped me do the final puzzle, which is It's not the final puzzle of a game. It's the final puzzle you have. This like in this secret area you have to beat in order to platinum it.
Yeah.
And it's
the one thing that kind of requires some dexterity and like
it's random.
on a timer and
It
stuff.
randomizes every time.
Yeah,
so
so-
you cannot get help with it. So all I did was have Cody help me remember stuff and write it down as I was trying to traverse through the area. With this camera set to move as slow as possible, which was a little bit of a hindrance. But anyway, whatever. Witness is great. Life is Strange is great. Alan Wake is phenomenal, and To the Lighthouse is definitely an Alan Wakey type of thing. So that's I think that's one of my favorite raunchy songs of all time. Like I said, top 5, I think. The top 3 or maybe the top 2 for sure are on the next album. And we're going to get to that next video because we were going to originally put that album with this one, but obviously it'd be way too much to do. We're already almost at 3 hours.
Yeah.
So for the sake of time, we won't do that. And I was going to do something else fun here at the end of this video that I was going to do at the end of the first video, and I totally forgot because we were running long like this. So instead, I will take that fun thing we were going to do and I'll put it on the next video where we're only going to talk about one album and only half of that one album. So
cool.
It'll be a much shorter video, and then we'll have probably the longest one when we explore Vices, Virtues, Visions. So do you guys have any final or sort of overall thoughts on these 2 albums now with the new singer, sort of a new approach, more lead guitars, little less synths I feel here than maybe that first album, though we're getting a little bit more on this one.
I feel like they stood out to me more on this one.
Okay, well maybe they stood out more because they were less plentiful.
Yeah, maybe.
Like they were more impactful when they were there, and so those were the parts you were really gravitating towards.
Yeah.
I think I like the previous album a little bit better.
Okay, that's really interesting. You were saying that with the mix at first, and I was curious to see if you were going to think that the whole way through. Mm-hmm. I will say this album, Wasteland Discotheque, has a lot more variety to it overall, and Death Pop Romance is a lot more straightforward through it. And I do think that both of them are very heavy albums, but I think Death Pop Romance is probably their heaviest album. It's definitely their most like unforgivingly heavy. Wasteland Discotheque has heavy moments, but there's also like poppy moments. And then when we get to Discord Electric, my favorite of their albums, I think it's one of the best mixed metal albums I've ever heard. I think it's the best guitars I've ever heard on any album.
I look forward to hearing that.
It is so much you can hear the space, Chris. You're gonna love it. You're gonna absolutely love that.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So I can't wait till we do that. It's gonna be really great. Let me see what else. I don't know. Yeah, we don't. Unless you guys don't have anything else to add, we can just kind of end it until I'll let everybody know. You guys good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I just want to let everybody know. Thank you very much for watching. Definitely check out, other stuff on the channel. Raunchy, if you or someone from your camp is watching this video, like I said in the first one, I have cancer and it may die. So if you have this files for the album done, I will sign an NDA if you let me hear them early. And I will also do any reaction or review you want on my channel. I'll give it any score you want. I will totally sell out 100%. No one will ever be able to trust me again.
You'll start giving scores.
Yeah, I'll start giving scores just for yours. 10 out of 10, perfect album, which is ironically what I would give both of these albums, 10 out of 10s. Mm-hmm. Though I would not say either of them is perfect. I would give them a 10 out of 10, but I wouldn't say perfect. I think the next album is a 10 out of 10 and is perfect. There's one production thing on it that I'm not going to mention because I don't want to color Chris's impact or influence on it. I don't want to influence Chris on it. Mm-hmm. And I'm really curious when we start listening to that album if it bothers you at all or if you don't even notice it and whatever, so I won't bring it up.
We'll see.
And then
So the Somebody's Watching Me is a fairly popular song on this. Did that lead to them doing any more covers of pop songs later?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
They did one on. There is a deluxe edition of Velvet Noise where they did a cover of Faith No More's song "From Out of Nowhere."
Oh,
'Cause you come from out of nowhere. That one, that song. It's a.
I don't know that. I only know one Faith No More song, and it's not.
Yeah,
that
I
one.
think I only know
And that's
one.
what is it? What is
You know
it?
what? Every single thing about that song is something that on paper I hate. And I really do not hate that song. It's a lot.
It's
of fun.
fantastic. It's a lie. It's a crime. It's a sad. It's a win. It's you've got to bear it, so you wear it. I love that.
Yeah,
and then the
it's
piano ending. It's so stupid.
It is the weirdest song on earth, man.
Dude, yes. Have you ever heard any Mr. Bungle?
I know of Mr. Bungle. I don't think I know.
Oh man. That's a whole thing unto itself. Oh man, they have songs I could never be in the same county as my mom is while I'm listening to. But they're hilarious and great production. But anyway, that's Faith No More. So yeah, they did one cover before that. They did this cover, and then I think they definitely did not want to fall into the camp of metal band that does pop song cover.
Yeah, I
And-
wondered if they would, since that one seemed to get a little bit of traction.
Yeah, and it's funny too because Warriors had like 3.5 million plays,
Yeah,
so like
that's got more.
twice as much as Somebody's Watching Me and then A Heavy Burden, which
Yeah.
were both pretty big plays. I would be curious. Let's look just while we've got it up. So yeah, 3.2 million for Warriors, and then 1.7 and 1.7 basically for Heavy Burden and Somebody's Watching Me. I'm gonna go to their next.
Well, if you go to the band, those are the three biggest ones as a band.
Yep, and then Watch Out, and then Night Party from the next album. I want to see if Discord Electric has anything. So Discord Electric has Night Party, their big song from that one, and that's it. And then their most recent album, Vices, Virtues, Visions, which a lot of it was really critically acclaimed as being like a banger of an album. That one has really no single, and there's nothing with more than 500,000 plays on it. So definitely a critical hit, but not a pop darling.
Yeah.
So we just, the most popular song they ever had was Warriors, and we just listened to it. And it's funny because neither of you guys were really like, Chris was like, I don't know, that doesn't sound much more poppy to me. And I'm like, whoa, that sounds like band that's sold out and record label forced them to write a song like that. But
It's not as bad as
we don't have
Escape.
we don't have the context of all their discography before then.
I was gonna say we really are skipping the more like hellish moments for
Yeah.
Cody, you know, where there's like, but the next album I'm gonna force you guys to listen to. We're gonna get to some stuff. I'm so
Cool.
excited. All right, thank you everybody. Stay on the channel. Whatever, great stuff. You all know what's going on. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Make it worse.
Hello. Uh-oh. Oh, wait. Yes. Okay. Bro. Oh. Yeah, I hear it. I was afraid of that. All right. Continue to hold.